Good morning, Happy New Year. Well, it's not Happy New Year, it's the 4th of January, but for me and coming on air, it's the first time in January, so Happy New Year to everyone. Hope your Christmas was all right, and New Year as well. It wasn't quite the same as normal, but quieter. I had a really nice, peaceful one. Anyway, best thing about New Year, isn't it, is that I never make any New Year's resolutions. I always worry I'm going to break them. I just have sort of little promises to myself of things that I'd like to do. I mean, I think for a lot of us sewers, our first resolution is I'm actually going to finish some of those projects that I've started that are sitting in carrier bags right behind the back of the sofa. So that's a really good resolution. Try and finish some things, but also it's all about New Year, new projects, learn some new skill. I mean, you know, let's make the most of this lockdown and learn some new things. And we've got so much here for you on Sewing Street and Yarn Lane, obviously, of course, things that you can learn. So what we've tried to do for you at the beginning of January is bring to you some new skills and new techniques, things that you've not tried before, or maybe you've started and you want to learn some more. So we've got two brand new guests today as well, and they're both going to teach you some things that you might not have done before, or go into depth on some things. But to start off with, we've got a brand new early bird for you. So you may have, when you're watching Sewing Street, have heard people always talking about rotary cutters and rotary cutting equipment and do I need it, don't I? And I remember when I bought my first mat and cutter and ruler thinking, oh, I'm not sure whether I need it or not, but honestly, I would not be without it. So if you haven't tried rotary cutting before, honestly, it will change your life for all sorts of sewing skills. Whether you're, I know we think of rotary cutters as being for patchwork and quilting, but they're brilliant for loads and loads of uses for dressmaking too. So we've got a really, really good starter set for you today. With it is a mat, which this you have got to use a mat because they're self-healing. They won't mark the table, they won't cut through things, so they're really important to use a mat. And we've got it with a ruler, which is our most popular size of ruler that we ever sell. You can buy the rotary cutting rulers in all sorts of sizes and shapes and variants, but this one is this size, this is why we've put this bundle together for you, is our most popular. And obviously the rotary cutter, which is crucial. So normally, separately, you would pay, for all of these, you'd pay about £10 each. I mean, a bit more depending on the brand and the make and all that sort of thing. But about approximately sort of rough estimate is you would pay about £10 for each of these, because you can buy different size mats, different quality of rulers, larger rulers, smaller cutters, all sorts, but about £10 each. But today, for the very, very, very first time, because this is brand new today, the price to you today is, it's just about to come onto the screen, $19.99. That is a fantastic saving, isn't it? So this will go up, I was just checking with them, this will go up after today to $29.99. So you're getting £10 off for all three. So this is perfect if you've never tried rotary cutting before. But if you have, then this is great because it's always useful. I have I've got several rotary cutters and rulers, but I also have two mats. And I use them for different things. So I have a really big mat that I use for cutting across full widths of fabric, but I also have a smaller mat like this that I can use for smaller things. I use it for FPP quite a lot. I use it for the smaller patchwork when I'm like trimming half square triangles down, and I also have one for paper as well. So this is really good. So if you've already got a set, this is a really good extra set to have, but it's great for a starter set. So we just want to sort of show you what you would normally pay for something like this. So we've got a price comparison coming up. It's not a direct, because this is a different brand, but for a similar set, like you can see on, and a similar size ruler, $36.95, and that's on a different site. So it's the same sort of ruler size, similar size, just so that you can see what a fantastic price that we've got it for you today. But, you know, I think, because I think it's something that people think, oh, I don't know whether I want to invest in that or not, is because you do need all three. You've got to have, you can't use the cutter without the ruler, otherwise you cut your fingers. And then you can't use either things without the mat, because otherwise you cut your table. So sometimes people think, oh, I don't want to invest in that because I need all three, but honestly, it will make the world of difference. So let me just show you first of all. So the mat itself, it's got all the inch markings up the side and across the bottom. So you can see it goes up to 17 inches that side and 11 inches up that side. So that's really good for lining up your fabric. So if you've got a fabric strip, I've got one here. You've got the lines you can just use for making sure it's nice and straight for when you want to cut the other way. It's also got 40, 30, 45 and 60 degree angles. Now this is perfect for when you're cutting maybe half square triangles and you've got to get the angle right to start with. Or maybe you're cutting a fabric strip on, you want to cut a bias, you've got the angle. So say for this strip, I wanted to cut this at a 45 degree angle. You simply place it straight across the lines like this. You take your ruler and you line that up with the 45 degree angle, and then you take your cutter, we'll talk about this in a minute, I just want to show you this one, and you cut it there. And now you have got a perfect 45 degree angle. Obviously, and this is ideal when you're joining things or you want things cut across the bias. So this is just a small strip of fabric for something bigger. So it's, you know, there's mats come with all sorts of measurements and different things in, but although we wanted to bring you sort of a starter set, we wanted to give you something that's got all the markings and the things that you need on. The ruler is marked across, so it's a 6.5 inches wide and 12 inches high. So that's pretty, you know, that's useful for cutting all sorts of different things because it fits on the mat as well. But you can cut all of your 6-inch squares and triangles and different things. And obviously the ruler will move along your fabric, so you could use it for that. And I'm going to show you that in a moment. And then we've got the cutter. Now this is a 45mm cutter. That means that's the diameter of the blade. Cutters come in 3 or 4 different sizes, but this is the most commonly used. This is the one you'll use for all your patchwork, your dressmaking. The smaller ones are used for cutting smaller edges and angles, mainly for dressmaking, and the bigger one is for cutting big widths of fabric. But I only ever really, I mean, I have got the other sizes, which I don't use for very specialist things, but the 45mm, which this one is, you need all the time. Now, rotary cutters are extremely sharp, which is fantastic because they'll cut through all layers of fabric. So it's very important that you stay safe with them all the time. So this has got a switch here that you just pull back for cutting and you push back. And you will, after a while, you've just always remember to get into the habit of every time you put the cutter down, close the blade. So when you're using it open, as soon as you put it down, close the blade. Once you've done this a few times, you'll be in the habit of it. It's just safety, really. It does have a removable blade because obviously they do blunt after a while, particularly if you go over pins, which I constantly do. You get little nicks in them. So it's got a screw on the back. You undo that to replacement blades we have available on the website because this is a standard size. It's a really nice ergonomic grip. It's a good chunky handle because it's important when you're using a rotary cutter that you have a good grip on it and you press down quite hard. So I'll just show you with this strip of fabric. We'll actually use a wider one. Got a nice bit of cave. So even if you already have a rotary cutter, like I was saying earlier, it's really important, you know, that to have another one because, you know, with a mat this size, if you're cutting a square, if I cut a square off this fabric, I'll just cut a strip. So say I wanted to cut this into a square, I'll cut that size. Now, if you've got a big mat, this isn't so easy. But if you've got a small mat, it's really simple to just turn it round, keep it absolutely still, and then you can cut the other way as well. So if you've already got a set, this is perfect because it's just that extra thing. It's really nice to have them. I've got, I don't know how many rulers. Anyone else who does rotary cutting, I bet you've got loads of rulers. I know I have. So it's really nice to have this one. If you're doing foundation paper piecing, as you know, you cut it, sew it, press it, cut it, sew it, press it. So it's really useful to be able to trim them, and you don't, once you've trimmed fabric, you don't really want to be moving it, particularly if you're cutting at angles, but you can easily turn this round. So it's perfect for that. So although it comes together as a set, you'll find you'll use it for all sorts of different things. You know, we all know, a bit like with scissors, same as with rotary cutters, don't cut fabric and paper with the same thing because it will blunt it. So if you've already got a rotary cutter, this is ideal because you can use this for cutting paper with as well. And at this price, this, you know, £10 off at £19.99, this is a brilliant extra set to have. I mean, even at the full price of £29.99, I showed you earlier, that's a really good price, but for £10 off, that's fantastic. So we found another price comparison. Millwood, different brand, but similar quality, and this is on a different site, and theirs is on the sale at £27.89. So I mean, that's a really good price because that's their sale, but for us, £19.99, it's an absolute bargain. So if you've got a friend who's starting off in patchwork, or even a dressmaker, and they haven't used rotary cutters because they think, I think the problem with it is what puts people off is you've got to buy all three. And you think, oh, I don't know whether I'm going to want to do that. But let me show you, you know, if you're doing, say you're doing some patchwork. So you get the mat. And then you get the ruler and you get the cutter as well. So the £19.99 isn't just for one of them. That is all three. Okay? Amazing price. So say I wanted to cut, say I'm not a patchworker, but I want to cut a strip of fabric for dressmaker. Say I want to cut some binding strips. Now this is, I use it for my general home sewing, to be honest, for things like bag making and cushion making. And maybe I want to cut a strip and I want to level it off. You can just place your fabric anywhere on the mat for this and say, oh, I just want, first of all, I'll level it off. To make sure this is a nice straight edge. So just line up one of the lines on here. Remember, open the blade, hold your fingers so this mustn't move, this is really tight, and then apply pressure. Now by having this edge of the perspex, it stops the cutter jumping across. You mustn't use just a normal ruler because it will jump over and you will either blunt your blade or you will cut your fingers. So this is why we're putting all three together. You can't use any of these without each other. You must have the mat and the ruler and the cutter. Let me just say, Hannah's just told me, is extremely busy. This, obviously massively popular, this price, so I'm not surprised. So if you've got it in your basket, do check out or you're going to miss out. So there we go. I'm just going to cut that length. I just need a little bit extra on the edge. So now I've got a really nice straight edge. So say you're making bag handles, for example, and you've got to cut 3-inch wide strips. Now you could measure with a tape measure, draw a line and then another measurement and use a pair of scissors and cut. But that takes so long, doesn't it? So say I want to cut, put my glasses on for this. Say I want to cut a 3-inch wide strip. Then you just line up the 3-inch mark. Oh, I need to do it from the other end. You line up the 3-inch marking, 1, 2, 3, along there. And then you simply cut along. And if your fabric is longer than your mat, that's fine, because you just move it down. Again, line up that 3-inch. We've already cut it straight. There we go. And now, look at that, we've got a perfect 3-inch strip. That's so much quicker, isn't it? It is going to be really busy. Now, if you've not shopped with Sewing Street before, the best way to do it is on the website. Go on to sewingstreet.com and then if you click on Watch Live, the early bird and all the products in today's show will be listed below it. But if you'd rather you phone the call centre, that's 0800 001 4433. We have let them know that it is going to be busy because we know this is a fantastic offer. It's the first time we've ever offered it, so we have told them. So if you struggle to get through on the phone, just hang on. That they know that they know that we're going to be busy this morning, so they have got extra people, but just have a little bit of patience for a while. So there's my 3-inch strip. That's brilliant. So, and I showed you earlier. Now, if I want to cut it into a 3-inch square, what I would do is line up the fabric there. I'm just going to put this here. I just Right, undo the blade. Always remember, when you finish, close the blade. Now, the beauty of a mat this size is now I want to cut it in a 3-inch square. I don't have to move the fabric at all. And if I want to cut it the other side, I can cut it there, and I haven't had to move it. That makes life so much simpler. So a third of the stock has already gone in 15 minutes. So if you've got it in your basket, you really do need to check out, because tomorrow it will go, after midnight, will go up to $29.99. And remember, you know, and then because this, you know, this isn't just, I know it's a great price. It looks like, oh, $19.99, that's not very much, is it? But this is, honestly, this is a quality product. This has got everything you need. So we've got the angles across there. If I needed to cut 2 triangles now, that's really simple. I can line up my 45-degree angle, cut straight across. So this will do everything that a full-size cutter will, mat and ruler will do. But it's really useful. It's if you want to get started, or you want an extra set, it's perfect. Or, you know, you want to get somebody into it, because everything you need's on here. But we are really busy. So if you're not shopping on the website and you're doing it on the phone, then just have a little bit of patience. They will get to you. But we have got extra people, so don't worry. Remember, with these mats, do not use them for ironing. They go all funny, melty, not very good. And also, when you store them, keep them flat. They don't like being bent. So when Paul, our buyer, was going to buy them, he gave me quite a few mats and cutters and different things to try them out, because we wanted to be able to bring you an affordable set. So that if you want to get into rotary cutting, we wanted to give you a set, which at $19.99 it is really affordable. So he gave them all to me and said, have a go, tell me what you think. Because although it's affordable, we didn't want to bring you something that was just rubbish quality. So I've been playing with these for a few weeks now. And I had to look at all the different sizes that we could have. And I said, you know, I think to make it, and obviously, you know, the bigger the mat, the bigger the ruler and the cutter, you know, you can do more with it. But I wanted to bring you something that would be really useful. And I said to him, this is the sizes that I would recommend. And luckily, I've been allowed to keep them. So I've got all of this set on my table at home, because I wanted you to be able to have something that would move your craft onto the next level. But there's no point in us giving you poor quality, because then you won't buy from us again. So, you know, when he gave me all these different ones, I said, I don't like that one, I don't like that one, I don't like that one, but this is a really good one. And if we can do it at $19.99, that's fantastic. Because, you know, a lot of people, they get put off, particularly the whole cutting out process, because it is really tedious. You know, when you see patchwork and it says cut 15 4-inch squares, you think, oh, that's going to take ages. And if you were marking with a ruler and then a pair of scissors, it would take you ages. But, you know, with something like this, if you wanted to cut narrow, you know, for FPP or something, and you wanted to cut some really narrow strips, if you want to just cut like a 1/2-inch strip. Oh, we've got an email from Sandra. Oh, she said, thank you so much for bringing this set. I've been wanting to try rotary cutting for a long time. Well, honestly, Sandra, this will change your life. I mean, look at this. You know, if you wanted to cut a 1/2-inch strip, I'm not, well, I mean, I have obviously cut before I rotary cut. Used to do rotary cutting many moons ago. I would have to use a tape measure and mark it. You will never get an accurate 1/2-inch strip like that. And this is brilliant for, you know, adding details or interest, or if you've got to cut a strip and you want to do some very, very narrow binding. You'll never be able to cut them. For all the bias binding makers that we use to try and cut strips this accurately, it's almost impossible. When you do patchwork, particularly half-square triangles, once you've sewn them all together, you always need to trim them. And that's what this is ideal for. So remember, this will be after midnight. It will be $29.99. This is the perfect starter set, but also it's a really good add-on set if you've already got one. But, you know, this is all about new year, new hobby. Have a go at patchwork. And to encourage you to get past all the cutting out stuff. Having rotary cutting equipment makes all the difference. But I use it mainly in my home sewing. If I'm cutting binding for something, or if I'm making a bag or a cushion, I just want to put a border on it and I need 2-inch strips. It's just brilliant. So this is a fantastic price that we won't be bringing you after today. So just remember that it is extremely busy. There's loads and loads of you with them in baskets. So please remember to check out. We will come back to it later in the day and we'll let you know what the stock level is. But remember, if you're on the line, I know there's a lot of you waiting, but we have told the call centre they have got extra staff in today. So they know that it's an extra special early bird. But we will be coming back to it later. But it is a great purchase. And I'm always trying to tell people the wonders of rotary cutting. So, and I have, and I know it was great because I've had it on my, in fact, I did say to Paul, do I need to give that back? But he let me keep my set. So it's really good. And I don't really like promoting things or selling things if I haven't tried them myself, because otherwise people come back and ask questions and say, how does that work? And why do you like that? And so I do like to try out particularly something like this where we're getting you into a new craft. So I can personally vouch for its quality because I use it now. So we have also got, we only have one early bird normally, but Hannah, our producer, sort of created 2 extra early birds, as well as this. She sort of created it herself. We haven't really told anybody. We haven't called it an early bird because we're only allowed to have one. So she sort of created it and we haven't told anybody, but we thought we'd bring you another 2 fantastic bundles today. So I'm just going to move that out of the way. Now, this is brilliant. First day back at school. So beginning of January, let's have another extra treat. Now, these, remember I said at the beginning that learn a new skill, but also how about finishing off some of those projects? Now, I've got 2 fantastic bundles here. And in the bundles, there are 2 colourways. You get 3 panels of labels. They're not just quilt labels, they're labels to put on any of your sewing things. And on top of that, you get 6 marker pens, which you can use to write on in all colours. So this bundle is called the Classic Bundle. I'm going to show you all of them. Now, I will show you them in a minute. So this is the Classic Bundle, and with that you get the 3 panels and 6 pens. And then we've got this is the New Year Bundle, so this is more spring-like. Again, you get the 3 panels and you get 6 pens, and these are sort of the prettier colours. You get black and the prettier colours, and I'll show you these now. Very limited on both stock. Let's start with the Classics. So in this these 3, we weren't really supposed to put a saving on them, but Hannah did it, and she's hoping that nobody notices. But basically, the way that this works, there are 3 panels in the bundle, and one of them is completely free. So let me show you the first one. Now, we counted them up this morning, Hannah and I, and in all 3, you get 81 labels. Now, these labels are perfect for, it says quilt labels, but they're not just for quilts, to be honest. I mean, the bigger ones are perfect for your quilts. The pens, they're just the right thickness that you can write on these. So the ones that say stitch with love by date. So you can put a little message, you can put the name. And I always, if I'm making something, a particular quilt, I always label my quilt. I put the name of the quilt on, the date I've made it, who it's to, and who it's from. And it's just a really nice way of remembering things. But also, so you've got labels that you can write on, and these are the bigger quilt labels. Then you've got smaller ones. So say you've made somebody a little bag. You could sew one of these labels just on the lining on the inside, just have the name. Or you can just put these smaller ones are lovely that just say handmade, stitch with love, made with love. I like these corner ones as well. Let me show you those. You can write on here, but what you can do, you can write with one of the pens, because remember you get 6 pens, but you could also write with just a pencil or a friction pen, and you could embroider over it. And these are sewn into the corner of your quilt. So if you just want a little bit on the back, some of them are big, some of them are small. So it's 27 on each panel. And that's one. And this is all in the same bundle. But this is going to last you for a long time. I've got a panel of quilt labels. I use it all the time. It's just really nice to put. So this one is the red, mustard and grey. This comes in the same classic bundle. Aren't they lovely though? I like this one because I like the red and the mustard and the grey. Remember, on Sewing Street, if you haven't shopped with us before, we have 1 P&P a day. It's £3.95 and that's for the whole day. So if you buy something now, like you buy one of these or you've bought the rotary cutting set, once your £3.95 is done, that's it. And you can keep checking out, because if it's in your basket, it's not yours. It's like walking around the supermarket. You've got to check out and then it is yours. But you can keep checking out all day. So once you've paid your £3.95, then that's it. That's it. And here's the final panel. So you get 3. This is my favourite one. So this is, so when you think, because of the price that Hannah's been able to do this for, $34.99, one is free. So basically you're getting 27 labels for free. I really like this one. This is just all classic sort of greys and charcoals. So you can use this for loads of things. And I really like this, just made with love. You know, you could just sew that onto the inside of something, or, you know, or make a feature of them. These would be lovely stitched onto the outside, maybe an outside pocket of a bag. Or if you're making somebody a little wash bag, you could just sneak one of them on the inside. I think when you've spent a lot of time and care, you want to be able to label it, you want to put on it. It's also a really good record of when you've made something. And you know, you can hide them away. It doesn't have to be showy. I love this one here. Let me show you. It's got the little bee on it. That one's really pretty. I like that one. But you could just pop that on an inside pocket. But the lettering and the words are great. So you could put that on the outside of something. But you can see with these corner ones as well, there's the stitching line. So if you cut outside them, maybe 1/4 of an inch outside these, you can turn the edges under. And what you can do with these, if you're binding a quilt, you can slip this edge under the binding. There's so many different things. I mean, but with 27 different labels on each panel, so that's 81 in total, then you get 27 labels for free. So that's the classic. And then the pens that you get with the classic are these really bright colours. So you get all these nice bright colours where you get black, yellow, green, blue, white and red. So that will go on everything. They're really lovely. You can also use them for colouring in your trains as well. So you don't have to just use them for those. And they're washable as well. Not as in washable, they'll come off. So if you want, after you've done your labels, if you want to use them for something else, you can use them for any colouring in any fabrics. I mean, on here they've got them on trainers and everything. The nether bundle, Hannah's called this New Year because it's very pretty. So the first panel you get, this is all blues, blue hearts. You know, if you're making something maybe for a grandchild, or, you know, you're making a gift for somebody. I like these at the bottom here with the sewing machines, just made with love. You know, there's so many different things you can do with these. These look a bit like those labels where you buy tape. You know, when you buy tape and you get all, you get it in a long sort of meat of these. But I think, you know, maybe you've decided, right, this year I'm going to make some gifts for like maybe a wedding anniversary or a special birthday or something. Then these labels are absolutely perfect for that. I really like that one with the scissors on it. So you can, and there's plenty of space to put on here. And I think there really is a label for everything. So you can save the big ones for the bigger quilts, the smaller ones for little makes. So this is exactly the same one, near enough, but in pinks and greys. That's pretty, isn't it? I think the sewing machines. But, you know, for the pastels and things, that's ideal, isn't it? But, you know, or anything, if you're doing maybe the back of something, it's quite good for a record of things. I always take a photo on my phone of something I've finished making, because when you gift it or you've done something with it, you always forget, and it's really nice to have a picture. But if you've sewn a label on it as well. But it's like, you know, it's always nice when you give someone a book and you write a message in it. You can't really do that with something that you've made. But you can just, or for your, even if you've made something for yourself, it's a nice record of when you've made it. This is the final one. So this is this one's called plain pink, so it's a brighter pink, but again it's got all of the different labels. This is lovely. It's got a little mushroom, and that one's got a dandelion. That one's lovely, isn't it, with a little mushroom? And again at the bottom here you've got the smaller ones with thistles and a bee, so there's plenty of room to, I would I think some of them I would write. So this pack has got the sort of prettier colours in it: black, purple, pink, green, blue and orange. But you could write, as I was saying before, with a friction pen or a pencil, and then you could do it in your own handwriting, and then you could embroider over it, and that gives so let me just, this, I've got one of these that's open. And look, you can see they are permanent, but they're also washable as well. So you can see the width of the tip there. So if I could write on one of these, couldn't I? Stitched with love. Oh, I don't know which one to write on. You could just put your name on one, couldn't you? Just put my name on the middle of that one. Just show you, you see, let me show you. You can write with my name, But look, you see, it's very, these are very fine. So even on the smaller labels, I can get my name. You know, and if you've made a work of art, how in, 200 years' time are the V&A going to know it's your quilt if you haven't put your name on it? But again, you can use the pens, but you can also embroider on them. So once, either use one of these, because they are washable, but they are permanent as well. But it doesn't bleed. I think that's really nice, because there were various pens. We did test different ones before we got these, because you really don't want them to bleed. But because there's all the different colours, you could choose maybe for this pink one you'd like to use a purple, or there's a black if you want to just keep it quite simple. But they are a really good set of pens anyway, because they are fabric pens. And if you want to do some like colour in your trainers or make a mobile phone colour, that looks like a surfboard. I'm sure you just have colour in your surfboard. But that's just a fantastic set. So for $34.99 you get 81 labels and 6 permanent but washable marker pens. And these are exclusive to us, to Sewing Street. They have been created by Sewing Street for Sewing Street, so you won't be able to buy these anywhere else. Now if you have a look online and you see quilt labels, I remember when we first created quilt labels, they're not easy to find anyway, but when you do, you won't ever be able to buy them at this price. Not for 81 labels and 6 pens anyway. So remember, you will be getting 27 labels for free. But I mean, that's, you could press Bonder web on the back of them, and you could iron them on, and then you could put a zigzag round, or there's plenty of space between them, so you can cut a small margin. It doesn't need to be much, only like 1/4 of an inch. Turn the edge under. Sometimes what's really nice is you can put wadding behind them and then sew them on, and then that just gives them that slightly raised appearance, and then you can top stitch them on. There's all sorts of different uses for them, but it's just nice to have them, isn't it? So that when you come to the final thing, to just put a little fabric handmade label on, or made with love. I mean, actually, the ones with the sewing machines on, I think I'd actually sew these onto the outside. So maybe you've got a little square pocket on the outside of a bag, or on a makeup bag or something, to just have that. That's actually like, I would use that one as a feature rather than as a handmade by me. So anyway, gosh, we're running out of time for this hour. So let me tell you what's coming up today. We have, well, obviously at 8 o'clock, so our first hour, we've got the right tools for the job, and we've got lots of other different tools to show you. At 9 o'clock, we've got brand new guest to Sewing Street, Rebecca Harrison, who I've worked with her before, but she is brand new to Sewing Street, so it's lovely to see her again. She's going to be showing you Allison Maryon's crossback apron. There it is. We've got a whole new choice of fabrics, and she's going to be showing you in particular how to make and create your own binding. So that's the new skill. If you've not done that before, or you'd like to know, she's a real professional dressmaker, so you're going to learn loads from her. 10 o'clock, we've got quilt backing and binding. We've got some extra wide quilt backings, a really big choice of them, and lots of waddings as well. And I'm going to be showing you some little tips and tricks on how to bind your quilt in a neat way. So it's just nice. We're trying to sort of focus on learning new techniques. So I'm going to show you a bit about binding quilts today. At 11 o'clock, we've got Rebecca's back showing us how to make a bolster cushion, and she's going to there it is. That's one of the bundles of the bolster cushion you can make today. But she's going to focus on how to do covered piping, because it's something that we have lots and lots of questions about. So we said to her, you know, what is it? Because we're all about teaching at the beginning of January. So that's what you're going to learn. And then at 12 o'clock, we've got Yarn Lane. We have got the most gorgeous crochet animals. We've got a brand new guest that's going to be on at 12 o'clock, and who's going to be showing us these, but they are the most beautiful crochet animals. You'll love them. So again, we're trying to bring you some new equipment that you might not have used. It's one of those things that if you haven't used one of these, you will wonder why you've never had one before. So it's the most affordable light box that we have. Isn't this lovely? Now, I've got one of these, and I didn't have one for a long time. And I use mine because I do a lot of embroidery. I use mine mostly for embroidery, but I also use it for FPP. But it's amazing, actually, once you've got it, how you realise how much you actually need it. I use it for loads, just for tracing little things. So I turn it on. It's LED, so you can just put your hands on it. It's not hot at all. We're just going to turn the lights down a bit. So it's got 3 light settings. Now, when I first used one of these, I thought, why would you need 3 different light settings? But actually, it's because of different colours of fabric. So some fabric, you can have too much light and you can't see it. So if you just press it once, that's the minimum light. And then again, and it gets a bit brighter. 3 gets a bit brighter again. And then press it again and it turns off. And what's great is the lights across the whole thing. It's got measurements on it. So it's ideal if you want to line up things. So you've got inches up those sides and you've got centimetres this way. So it's A3 size. Yeah. So it's A3. The illuminated area, as you can see if I put this piece of paper on, is that's A4. So it's A3. So the actual illuminated area is A3 size. So we have had a look because we wanted to bring you something that was affordable. Now, $49.99, it's so worth it. It really is. We've looked at different prices just to make sure that we're bringing you the right price, and we haven't been able to find it. Here's one, not at this price. So this one here is an A3 light box. LED, exactly the same, 3 light settings, measurements printed on it. And that's over £100, and that was the closest we can get. Here's another one. Again, Argos, A3, exactly the same thing, does exactly the same thing. Got the plug, £99. That is just fantastic value. Oh, hang on, we've got another one. Where's this one from? Cat Art, $89.95. And they're exactly the same. I mean, it's the size. They are extreme. You can't really tell, but you know, they're extremely lightweight. What I love about mine is because I used to have a really big chunky ones. I didn't used to, in the days before the LED ones, I had a really big chunky one, really hard to store. But this is so easy because it's very thin. Very thin. So I use mine because I was saying I do a lot of embroidery, so I use it a lot for that. Because if you try and trace something, I used to stick it on the window. It makes your arms hurt, and you can then do it in the daylight. So say I wanted to trace a picture. Now here I've got one. Here's one I did earlier. So I took I took this picture out of the Shashko the Shashko book. I've got to find it now. It's all opened up, of some bamboo. Now, obviously, I'll turn it. You can then choose the brightness you want. As I said, if you're using darker fabric or lighter. Right, so this is for a completely different project, but I thought, oh, I really like that bamboo. So you put the paper on there. I mean, with a book, you can just turn it like that, and then you put the fabric on top. And look, you can so easily trace around the whole thing. Just try and line it up. Right, so then if I turn it off, you can see that that's traced. I'll never be able to draw it. I mean, all the time, I'm always pinching free images off Google and then just tracing them and print them out. And the great thing is that you can print them out. You can print them out to different sizes. You just change the percentage on your printer, have it exactly how you want. And then once you put your paper on, you put your fabric on, and then if you turn the light on, you can see it shines through. And then you just see, so if I want it a bit brighter, sometimes you find that, particularly if it's this double-sided, you don't want it too bright. So it's brilliant that you've got the 3 settings, because you need that for different things. So I wanted to make a cushion for someone. So I like that bamboo in there. But then I wanted a panda as well. So I printed out a free web image, here we are, of a panda. And then you put that next to it. So now we're becoming really completely unique. No one else has got one of these, have they? So I've got a bit of bamboo from a book. I've got a free web image of a panda. It can be traced on there. So if I turn the light off, there. I need to just move it. And, you know, sometimes with some fabrics you can see through it, but you can never see all the details. So even if I'm, maybe like, you know, with those quilt labels and you want to embroider a name on them, you could print that out to the right size and then just place the quilt label on top and trace over it and embroider it. And then it looks like really nice handwriting as well. And then on here, say I wanted to make this into a cushion. So I've printed out Hannah's name. And then you can measure it, you can work out. So what you can do is, because it's got the measurements on the bottom and the straight lines, you can line that up at the bottom so you know that it's straight and put that on. And then all you need to do is take one of the friction pens. I like using friction pens for embroidery because you can mark as much as you want, and then once you've stitched them, you just press it and they go away. And then with something like this, so these are normally about £100, so £49.99, they're fantastic. And because you can see every detail, you could trace, just think, well, I only want to do one line of embroidery, so you could just trace it like this. But say you wanted to make it chunkier and bigger, because you can see it so well, you could actually trace each letter round all the edges, which if you were trying to do this on a window, your arms would really be aching. But look. And all the so now you can see with that, let me turn it off so you can see what I've traced. You see that's, can you get in a bit closer to my thing? So now you can see, I've only traced 2 letters so you can see how perfect, how perfect that is, that you wouldn't be able to do without a light box. If you're doing FPP, and you know how you always have, particularly for that first piece of fabric, it's really important that you place the FPP pattern shape, the piece of paper, in the centre of the fabric, and you have to hold it up to the light to make sure it's in the right place. You can use the light box for that. Maybe you're doing EPP and you want to do it so it's fussy cut, so there's a particular image on a piece of fabric that you want to be in the centre of your hexagon. You can use your light box for that. I use it quite a lot for pattern pieces. So if I've got small pattern pieces and I don't want to cut them out, then I just place them on my light box and put the fabric on top, draw around them, and it's done. So I just find that there's, for so many things, that it's so much quicker. So say you've made somebody a wash bag, you want to embroider their name on, before you cut out the front and the back of the wash bag, and you just quickly pop it onto your light box, print out the person's name in a lovely font, make it big or sort of fun, cheerful, or a handwriting font, quickly trace over it, and then you can embroider it by hand, by machine. But from, you know, or if you've got dress patterns and you want to put things like the notches on something, you can just quickly pop it on the light box. And I like the fact that they are so portable. And like I said, I used to have a really big chunky one before these LED ones come out. And it's perspex, it's not glass, so it won't smash. But it's really good. But just remember, I mean, you know, you think, it's one of those things that since I've had mine, it's constantly, in fact, mine often sits on my ironing board as well. It's just the right height, I find. And it sits beside it. Do not iron on it, obviously. But if you want to mark on it, I like things that your ironing board is just the right height for marking things on. So I often put mine on, just plug it in where the iron would go, and it's perfect for that. And then put it to one side and you can press it, and because they're not too big. And we got a message from Debbie. She said, I use the light box for tracing onto soluble stabilizer. Okay, so put that on top of the fabric and then you can stitch over it and just wash it away. I use it for Bonder web as well, all the time, always tracing things onto Bonder web, because you know how with Bonder web you always have to trace in reverse and you have to trace onto the paper side. I used to not trace in reverse and trace onto the Bonder web side, but it's really difficult to do. So say you've created some lettering that you want to applique onto something, you can print it out as normal, flip it over, trace it onto the paper side of Bonder web, and the light box is just perfect for that. Because otherwise what you've got to do is get your piece of paper, you've got to draw on the other side, turn it over, trace it. So if you want to trace things in reverse, it's perfect for that. But this price, brand new today. And we've had a look in loads and lots of different places, and they're all coming in at sort of £90, £100. Oh, we've got another one. This Cass Art one, that's £89.95. And our price. But when we've looked at lots of different ones. They're around about £85, £90, £100. So for £40.99, this is a bargain. And it's just one of those things that when you've got it, you wonder what you did without it. And it's sort of, because it speeds things up for you and it gives you that more professional feel to things. Like with Bonder web, if you want to cut out, I do a lot of, if I want to buy a blanket for somebody, I'll often applique their initials or their name or something on. And by having a light box, you can so easily reverse the letters, and it's a very quick and easy finish. And I think sometimes when you can't do things quickly, you just don't bother. And like with embroidery, you know, this is lovely. So you use your friction pen, you trace, you can't see now, I've turned the light on, but I turn it off. But you trace over it, and then you can embroider around these. And these, because you get such accurate tracings because the light shines so well, then the quality of your finished stitching and embroidery is so much better. And then you simply press it if you've used an erasable pen and it's gone. Or, I mean, you can use a pencil as long as you stitch carefully on it. But there's so many different images and things, and you can do all the work on your computer. So you can resize it, print it out at 83%, so it's exactly the right size you want. And then you trace it and there it is. And it actually looks like you've got, you know, I think sometimes when I've embroidered things, people say, oh my God, have you? Oh, that looks amazing. It's like so accurate. And you think, well, I know that's because I traced it with my light box. Because you can get all those little details that you just can't get otherwise. Fantastic. So well done if you've managed to get one of those in your basket. Because we haven't seen this most affordable light box before. And it is A3. I did try an A4 one. And they are great, A4 ones are great, but for me, because I want to be able to put a whole piece of A4 right in the centre of it, I want to be able to do bigger pieces. I just found that the A3 was a better size. So I'm just going to move this. Now, we've got a fantastic thread bundle for you. Oh, I need to get it all. All of it. Let me just move this to one side. So it's taken us a while to be able to find all of this and get it all together and have it in one place for you to buy. It's taken us a while because there's all different sorts of thread in here. So we're really, really pleased that we can bring this bundle to you today. Now, because it's £153.99, it just qualifies for split pay. which if you haven't seen that before, if it's over £149.99, over £149, we split it over 3 months. If it's over £799, we can split it over 5 months for you. Now, the way that this works, so there's no interest. It doesn't cost you any extra to do that, but we split it evenly by 3. We take the first payment from you, but then we send it straight to you. You haven't got to wait for the 3 months to be up. You will have it straight away. Then after a month, we take the next one, another month, and then after 3 months, you've paid for the whole thing. But we don't charge you any extra. It's exactly the same cost as if you paid for it all outright. But it's just a way of you being able to purchase something and make it a little bit easier so that you can split it into 3. I mean, you don't have to use it, it qualifies for it. So that's up to you. When you order it, you can choose whether you split it. But remember, you don't have to wait for the 3 months to be up. You will get it straight away. So this is a fantastic thread bundle for anyone who loves sewing and wants a really nice stock of thread. Or if you're new to sewing and you think, right, well, I want to get started, I want some different threads, because you might not have many or you've got a few odd ones. So let's start this. Wow, there's so many here. This one is my favourite one, I think, the denim, because I absolutely love this thread. It's brilliant. I mean, I'm always mending people's jeans, but I also make a lot of things with denim. And what I love about this pack, it's proper jeans thread. It's the right strength and the right thickness, so it's wonderful. It's does it say? Yeah, it is number 50. So it's a proper, really good weight jeans thread. So you've got in the pack, you've got the black and the grey and all the shades of blue denim. But then they've got all the colours that you'd use for top stitching. So if you're hemming a pair of jeans and you know you want that sort of goldy orangey colour they have. So they've got red and the 2 sort of gold orange colours and the greys and the whites. So this is absolutely perfect for mending jeans, making jeans, or sewing with denim, or any of those colours, because it's just a great pack, because it's those 2 colours that I think, when you want to hem a pair of jeans, are really hard to find, because they always seem to hem jeans in an orangey colour. But those are right. So if you're anything that you're sewing with, well, it doesn't have to be denim, but if you want that denim authentic look, so if you're making bags or cushions from denim, you know, and it shows you, like in the pictures on here, they're lovely that, you know, they've got like a little rucksack made from denim, and they've got these goldy colour threads and the red that, and also they are olive colour that you often see in denim. So they're just sort of unusual colours and not easy to find, so it's really good to have in one pack. There's this big pack here. We've got plain threads, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we've got 10 plain colours, was plain as in solid colours, ranging from sort of white to yellow and reds and pinks and blues and black. But then, this is what I love, we've got the variegated versions of each above them. So when you're stitching with them, it looks like you're being really clever in all these different colours. So maybe you're doing some applique, maybe you've got some Bonder web and you want to applique a shape on in a zigzag stitch around the edge. You imagine if you use one of these variegated threads, then you get all this lovely coloured texture. Maybe you're doing machine embroidery and you want to have some different, so maybe you're machine embroidering some leaves and you want to have a different colours and textures. It's all in this one reel. But then if you want to do some seams with it, you've got the plain one below. So each one matches in. I love this charcoal colour one. Again, sometimes these are really good for mending or hemming things. Because of the variegated nature, then the colour changes very slightly and it gives you that unusual texture, particularly good for jeans actually. Nether pack here, all variegated. So really good for machine embroidery, applique, any kind of decorative stitching, or even if you're just doing a hem and you just want it to stand out a bit more. Here's another pack. This is a smaller version of that one, so there's a few less in that one. So you've just got 5 plain and 5 variegated. So basically this pack here is the same colours in this pack. So you've got loads and loads of variegation. And then finally we've got these metallic threads. These are beautiful, aren't they? Gold, silver, blue, green, that beautiful sapphire turquoisey colour gold. I love that red one. It's really, really metallic and glitzy. And that one, it's like sort of, you've got black with all the neon colours in it. So again, these can be put in your sewing machine. You can use them for sewing machine, with your sewing machine, but you can also use them for hand sewing as well. These are all Gutermann threads, which we know are really, really good quality. They're one of those brands that you can just rely on, that you know work. They're great quality. But what a lovely bundle. So you've got all of these plain threads. You've got a really nice selection of variegated. I love the denim pack because of the colours they've got in them, and all of these metallic threads, because quite often it's one of those things where you think, I just want to add a little bit of colour to something. Perfect for applique as well, but you can hand and machine sew with them. 100% polyester, really strong. I mean, you know Gutermann, it's a great brand. So for $153.99, that is a fantastic price for a big bundle of thread. It will also, by having these threads with you, it sort of expands what you can do, because I think you can only really sew with what you've got, but by having them to hand, it expands your techniques and your skills too. Now we've got another bundle here, the Aurifil bundle. Again, this is all about you having a good supply to start off with. You know, if we're going to be at home, we can't get out, we can't go to the shops, we need thread. So in order for us to be, if you like Aurifil, or if you've not tried it before, you need to. It is fantastic quality. It's wonderful thread. This is the only way that you can buy at the moment Aurifil on split pay. It's £169.99. So if we split it across the 3 months, it's £56.66. So the first £56.66 will be taken out of your account when you buy it. We'll send you the threads and the other two over the other 2 months in exactly the same way as we did with the last one. So in this pack, well, there's loads. Let's start with the necessities. So this is the great one. So if you've not used Aurifil before, all of the quilters that I know have recommended use Aurifil, and I was a bit sceptical about it, and this is a few years ago, so I tried it and it is beautiful. I mean, bizarrely, it's a 50 weight thread, which is the same as all normals. So you use that for patchwork, for hemming and seaming, you use it for dressmaking as well. But it feels so fine, it sits so nicely on the fabric. So on these large, so this is just one of the packs, and these are your necessities. There's 1,300 metres on each of the spools, and in this pack you've got white, grey, a deep cream and black. And it is just beautiful. Also, you'll find when you're sewing with it, it doesn't sort of bobble and create big lumps in the needle, so it sits very finely. It is a really nice thing, and I think it's because I was very sceptical. I said, oh, I can't understand why people buy that thread, you know, I bet all that cheap thread's the same, and it really isn't. So that's your sort of basic colours, and I mean, it is great for just normal seams, but if you want to add any sort of decoration or top stitching, but in your first payment, remember, they will all come at once. I love this pack, the Tula Sunrise pack. So you get 2 boxes in here. Let me open them up. Look at that. So what you can do, you could buy one for you and give one as a gift. You've got all those lovely bright colours in there. And then if I open up this one, ooh, I want to break it. Then you've got all like the sort of the sunshine colours in there. These are Tula Pink chosen colours, as you can see. If you know Tula Pink fabric, you know this is her colour palette. The beautiful reds and oranges and yellows and greens. And she has this beautiful shade of turquoise that's really vibrant. So if you've got any Tula Pink fabrics, this is her colour palette. But also, it's just a great way of having some really lovely selection of colours. And honestly, for top stitching, it is lovely. But I mean, I use it for all different sorts of sewing. It's Egyptian long staple cotton, which means it's very, very strong. There's 220 yards in each of these reels, and it is 100% cotton thread. But it is very strong, which is important, isn't it? Aurifil thread. So it's Egyptian cotton, but it's made in Italy. So that's that collection that is the Tula colours. And you also get the Quilters collection and the Essential collection in there too. And those 2 collections of Aurifil thread are exclusive to Sewing Street. So what a fantastic way to start the new thread with some new sewing bundles. So, well, gosh, the time has just flown by. We're about to go for a break, and after the break, we've got Rebecca Harrison with us, who is an expert dressmaker, who's going to show you how to make this beautiful apron, but also show you some really good tips and techniques about how to do binding. Oh, one before I go, I've got a message from Gabrielle, who says, morning, she's new to Sewing Street this week. Excited to learn new things. And Happy New Year. Well, Happy New Year to you as well, Gabrielle. And stay where you are. I'm going to make a cup of tea, but then come back and you are going to learn some fantastic new tips and techniques today. So I will see you in a couple of minutes.
If you'd like to get in touch with us during our live show and send in any messages or any questions, then you can do it on studio@sewingstreet.com. Alternatively, you can message us on our official Facebook page.
New Year's are always about trying new things, so why not try out a new hobby? From the 4th to the 10th of January, Sewing Street will be bringing you a week packed with demonstrations on new techniques, beginners tutorials and brand new projects. With everything from ribbon art, making your own sleepwear, new quilting techniques and beginners homeware makes. We have something for everyone. Sign up to our email newsletter and follow us on social media to find out what's on when. And watch our New Year, New Hobby shows from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Monday the 4th to Sunday the 10th of January on Freeview 72, Sky 670, our YouTube channel or Facebook Live.
Have you heard about Yarn Lane, a TV show dedicated to knitting, crochet and all things yarn, bringing you demonstrations from our expert guests as well as the latest tools. And find out what's coming up on the show by following us on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe to our email newsletter or visit the programme guide on our website at www.yarnlane.com.
Hi, my name's Jules Mayouf and I'm really excited to be a guest designer on Sewing Street. Okay, I got into sewing through my grandma. I used to sit and watch her. She was a dressmaker, and I started off making toys, and then I was dressmaking myself, and from then I've done homeware and children's wear and all sorts of different things in between. I would say my top tip is to be kind to yourself. It's only fabric at the end of the day, and if things do go wrong, then you've always got your quick unpick. My claim to fame is that in 2012 I was a VIP driver with the Olympics, and I met some really interesting people who were very nice, and I'm hoping that I'll meet some very interesting and nice people on Sewing Street too.
Stuck for ideas for the perfect gift? Why not get them a gift card? You can buy Sewing Street and Yarn Lane gift cards loaded up with anything from £10 to £500. Shop our gift cards online at www.sewingstreet.com or www.yarnlane.com, or purchase them via our UK call centre on 0800 001 44 33.
New Year's are always about trying new things, so why not try out a new hobby? From the 4th to the 10th of January, Sewing Street will be bringing you a week packed with demonstrations on new techniques, beginners tutorials and brand new projects. With everything from ribbon art, making your own sleepwear, new quilting techniques and beginners homeware makes. We have something for everyone. Sign up to our email newsletter and follow us on social media to find out what's on when. And watch our New Year, New Hobby shows from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Monday the 4th to Sunday the 10th of January on Freeview 72, Sky 670, our YouTube channel or Facebook Live.
If you'd like to get in touch with us during our live show and send in any messages or any questions, then you can do it on studio@sewingstreet.com. Alternatively, you can message us on our official Facebook page.
Welcome back to Sewing Street. So it's all about apron making today, but not just apron making. We're going to get Rebecca to show us some new skills. I just wanted to say well done if you managed to get the early bird today with the rotary cutting set. It's extremely popular. We still do have some left in stock, but it is becoming limited now. So if you want it, put it in your basket. Just wanted to talk about that first. So today we are going to be showing you how to make this lovely apron that's designed by Allison and Maryon, the Mummy and Me apron. So in the bag, you get the pattern to make the adult apron and the matching one for a child as well. So you've got all the instructions in the pack, everything you need to know how you do it, and the full size pattern, which has got a plique piece. So I won't open the whole thing out, but there's the whole pattern that you need. And on it as well, there's some applique pieces to put baking motifs, which is really sweet. So there's like a mixing bowl with an egg and a spoon. But also, and this is brand new today, in the pack as well, we've got some new applique patterns. We've got, because this is all about new things, new skills, we've got a pocket that's got pencils across it. And it's got the templates to do this, to put on, to really personalise your apron. But it's also got the instructions. So if you manage to get a light box in the last hour, this is ideal for using with this, because then you haven't got to cut everything out, you can just trace it. So in here as well, which is the first time we've done with this, we've got the pencil pocket. We've also got a paint palette, a plique pocket. I love that. So you can really, so if you've got a little artist in the family, you can make one for you. I mean, so what you can do is you can make the Mummy and Me apron, you can make the two, but you can have a different thing on each one. So maybe you could have baking on one and drawing on the other one. So we've got the paint palette. And look, you can see it's got all the templates that you need for the brush and the paint splats. And also other things that you can put on. There's a paintbrush, squeezy paint tubes. So that's all in the pack as well. So you've got the full size pattern to make the adult apron and the child one, and then you've also got these extra applique patterns and templates too. Also, we have fabric to make it. So you will need a metre of fabric to make the adult size apron, and we've got a massive choice here. So I'm going to start with the floral one, which is the one that's used to make the apron that Rebecca's already made for us. Really pretty, isn't it? I love that. It looks like a painting apron because it looks like this has been painted on. So this fabric, this is a metre of it. I really like this. It's very sort of watercolour, isn't it? Now this is, I don't know whether you can tell, it's a canvas. It's not just a normal dressmaking cotton weight. It's a canvas fabric. So it's extra wide. I'll show you. This is a whole metre in this bundle. So for $11.49, wow, you get a whole metre. Honestly, you know, this, even if you don't make an apron, this would be brilliant for bag making because it is a really proper canvas weight. Isn't it pretty? And that's all, the whole thing, look, whole metre. It's bigger than me, look. For $11.49. But it would be ideal for bag making as well. Beautiful, isn't it? So if you want to do, for the binding as well, you will need a contrast colour. It just makes it stand out a bit, so you will need a different fabric for the contrast colour. I've also got another 3 fabrics that you can use to make the apron. There's this one that's a lovely, like a mid denim shade. Oh, I like this. It's really nice. I mean, this is very, you know, if you wanted to make a real sort of craft apron, this is lovely, isn't it? Really nice finish. And I think the applique would stand out really well on this too. Because it's just a really nice, well, it's blue, but it's quite a neutral shade, isn't it? I mean, that's it in half, by the way, because it is a whole metre. But you could use make your apron in this fabric, and then you could use, you know, oddments of denim that you've got, you know, from old jeans and things to do all the applique as well. Be like, you feel like an artist in one of these. You often think of artists in denim aprons. There's a nether canvas. Again, remember, it's that sort of canvas weight fabric. It's not dressmaking fabric. There's this one as well. This is like a real, is it called sky blue? See, I would say this is a real lovely summer's day sky blue. Let me open it out so you can see the whole thing. So you get a whole metre for £7.49. Wow, that's a bargain, isn't it? Very kitcheny, that one, isn't it? But again, you know, if you don't want to use it for an apron, be perfect for bags as well. Bags, blinds, outdoor cushions, anything you want to make from canvas. For a metre, that's really, really good value, because normally normally a lot of our fabric is £7.49 for half a metre. So that's fantastic value. And this is really heavyweight. Make a nice pinafore though, wouldn't it? Quite like that as a pinafore. And then finally is the grey one. This is lovely, really lovely neutral shade. No, I do. So you get, again, this is your canvas weight fabric. Not, I mean, you can see when I open it out, it's not really stiff canvas. It's got a nice drape to it. So you can use it for aprons. But you can also, it's pure cotton, so you could use it for dressmaking too, because it's got a really weight. You know, if you're making a pinafore or something. But obviously, it's ideal for the apron. But for £7.49 for a whole metre, but cushions, £7.49. I think that's a bargain. I know. I think I would like this on its own. Thinking, Yeah, because that is, because, well, I mean, I know it's normally the more sort of the higher quality designer label quilting fabric is often £7.49 or £7.99 for half a metre. So that's fantastic value for money. It is really nice. Now, this is going very fast into baskets. Obviously, I'm not surprised because it's such good quality fabric. I do love the floral one. That's really pretty. So if you want it, put it in your basket and don't forget to check out, otherwise it will be gone. So good morning, Rebecca. Let's welcome Rebecca. So it's really nice to have you, well, I'd say back, because we used to work together on Sewing Quarter.
We did, yeah.
But lovely to have you join us.
It's lovely to be here.
Really nice. So give us a little bit of information about you and your background, because I was telling the viewers earlier about how you were a dressmaker.
Yes, yeah. Well, I started out as a dressmaker and then ended up in costume. Mm-hmm. So that's where I met John Scott.
Oh,
actually.
okay.
Yeah, we worked at Angels.
Right.
Together. Well, he used to come in as the designer and I worked at Angels. I was making there, so
Okay.
so that's how I met him. Yeah. So that's my background really, is costume.
For film or?
For film, TV. Theatre, because I left there and then went on to the Royal Opera House. Wow. So I worked for the Royal Ballet, which was lovely.
Wow, was that all just net?
Yes, yeah, lots of tutus and lots of yeah.
How lovely! That must be so nice to see it all then on stage.
Yeah, well, we were very lucky because we'd get seats, free tickets, to go and see the dress rehearsals.
Oh, fantastic.
So we had the best seats in the theatre. So we'd go and see operas where they're 6 hours. Oh my Some Lord. Of them. So that would be our day of coming to work and go and sit and watch an opera.
Oh wow!
And then go home.
How nice! We get to see everything you've made as well.
Yeah, which was really lovely.
And then after that?
After that, I went freelance because then I started having my family, so it was easier to be at home. So then I went freelance. So I've worked on lots of different things and done bridal wear and lots and lots of different things.
So what's your favourite thing to make?
Oh well, I mean my love is period costumes. Really, I love anything that's got a bit of a twist, a little bit of a nod to the past.
Right.
That's what I like really. I like to see modern things, but they've got that, you can think, oh yeah, that's a little bit of Victorian in there or whatever, yeah.
So that's okay. I guess that goes back to your sort of period costume.
Yes, yeah. Well, having done that for so long, it's
nice.
Yes.
Okay, hang on. I'm just giving you a little bit of a stock warning. The pattern, okay. So with the apron pattern that comes with the applique, There are only single figures left of this. So if you've got it in your basket, you really need to check out. Or if you want to get it, you need to put it in your basket and check out, because we haven't got many left. Anyway, just sorry, quick stock warning.
Yeah, no.
So how did you find the pattern? Where did you start? Where should we start?
Well, I mean, it's great. It's a really clear pattern to start off with, which is very good. So if you're a beginner, I would say, you know, go for it. Don't be scared of it.
Okay.
And it's a great weight, because the best thing to do is to trace off the size that you want.
Right.
Which is what I did with a tracing wheel. But the great thing about this is, because it's a good quality paper, you can trace over and it doesn't just disintegrate, you know, like some of the ones that you get.
What you mean. Yeah.
And you put a tracing wheel through it and that's it. You'd never be able to go round that particular size again.
Okay.
But this is great.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
So you know, it can be used over and over again. So I would say, if you could
trace it, yes. I guess, because otherwise you can't use it again then in different sizes.
And the children's one is obviously overlaid on top of the adults one.
Okay.
So so you really so you've got full use of it and full use
trace
of
it off first. Okay.
Yeah. And then obviously it's got all the lovely little.
I love those. I like all the cracked
bits.
eggs.
Yeah, I know. It's lovely, isn't it?
Baking,
yeah, I didn't get to do that, but this time just the pattern, the pocket. But
and also you've got all the choice with all the pencils and paper palettes as well.
Yeah. So
okay, so you trace it all off.
So yeah, traced it all off. Obviously, I did the adults version for the sample.
Lovely.
And I'm going to do the children's to show you the children's.
Nice, isn't it? Should we turn it round?
It's great, the crossover.
I'm just going to turn it round and bring it in next so it can stand next to me. There's my friend. See, look at that. I love that. So it really does cross over well, doesn't it?
Nice and easy to get on as well.
Could almost be a pinafore, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Put a few buttons or something.
Definitely, yeah.
But it does cover up really well, doesn't it?
It does.
But it's just a lovely thing, you know, if you're cooking, you know, when you've got to tie them at the back, that's actually really...
Yeah, I think so, to get to put it on, yeah. And I think it's a lovely idea, you know, if you've got young children and they've got the same design.
And it can be Granny and me, it doesn't have to be Mummy and me, does it?
No,
Auntie and me.
Yeah, absolutely, anybody, really.
Anybody and me.
Yeah, anybody. I mean, you've got, you know, there's blues in there for dads and...
Yeah, and it's just easy to get on and off, isn't it?
Yeah.
And a real good coverall, particularly good for children, isn't it?
It is, yeah, definitely.
So I'll just put my friend can stand next to me. There we go.
So, the first thing really is, we'll talk about binding, shall we?
Yes, well, this is about, as I was saying, new year, new techniques. And as you are an extremely experienced professional dressmaker, you're the best person to teach us as well. Because binding is something that people, I think, are a bit scared of.
Yeah. But you now have these fantastic makers.
Wow.
The binding makers.
Yeah.
Which just make life so easy. I mean, they're so easy to use.
Right.
Don't be scared of them at all.
Okay, so what do we do?
So
then?
what you need to do is they've all got you get different widths of binding that you can find. But the very important thing is make sure that you cut your fabric on the cross, not on the straight grain, because the whole reason for binding is that it will go around corners, round necks, round armholes.
So like on here where it really goes around the curve of the neck. Okay.
So it needs to be on the cross of your fabric, so that you get that ease. So I've cut some here, but it's got that little bit of ease, if you can see, if I'm doing that.
Yeah, a bit of
stretch. There's a little bit of stretch there.
So you just need to cut diagonally across the fabric.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for the I mean, as they say in here, you're going to need up to, depending on which size you do, obviously, but the biggest size, you're going to need up to 7 meters.
Whoa, lots of binding.
Of binding. So you cut it all on the cross, and you'll end up with strips like this. And then they have to all be joined together. So you'll notice that they've got this little diagonal bit here because obviously you've gone across the fabric. So to sew them all together, you need to, now obviously first time you're doing this, pin it. I'll put a pin in, but I don't usually pin. So now you have to try to sort of get your head around this, because the natural thing to do is to put them on top of each other like that. Which, if you did that, so if I put a pin in...
Yeah, because that looks like logically what you do, doesn't it?
So if we put a pin in there, what will happen is you'll open that up, and actually what you've got is a corner.
Got a very nice corner.
Yeah, you've got a very nice corner, but it doesn't work for binding. So, so go against all your instincts, and you have to go across.
So you join it.
So actually, what you're doing is you're actually... So when I just put the pin in and I put it back, that's what you're looking for before you sew it. So if I put a pin in there,
so you pin at right angles to get it straight,
and then you've got to fiddle around to get it in the right place.
So I guess if you're cutting from a square fabric, then automatically you'll have.
So
the
you
angles.
see, then it'll be a continuous line, like this one here. So there's my seam.
Okay. So join it at right angles.
Yes,
so that it ends up
so
straight.
join it at right angles so that you know you've got it
right.
And I would say, binding is so useful. You're always once you get started and once you start using it, you'll want to keep using it.
Okay.
So just if you've got the fabric and you're not going to use it for anything else, do more than you need and put it,
Yeah, and then just keep it.
Because you never know when you might need it again, or you might do another. You might do another project or another apron and think, right, I'm going to put blue binding on rather than
absolutely.
a pink or whatever. So it's have more, I would say.
Right. Okay.
Have it in your stash, because you never.
It is really useful.
It is really useful.
So cut it all and join it all.
Yeah. So join it all up together, and then with these, there's a tiny little gap in there. You see that there? Tiny little gap there where the fabric, the fabric needs to go push through.
Right.
Yeah. So if you turn it upside down really and push through, there's a little gap here. And then with your scissors, you can guide the fabric through. See, as it's poking out there. And then turn it over. And then you can just pull that, do it that way. And what happens is it folds in. And you press it and keep pulling out. I'll get the iron out now and press it. And then, so what then happens is you end up with, if I show you this bit, once you've pressed it, you end up with very neat. So that all gets tucked in. Side, so you end up very neat, and then
which would be it's really difficult to achieve yourself.
Yeah, but let me do a bit of ironing on it, because you get carried away with this. you can just go. I sit on the iron like this and I just go and go, but it's quite it's quite therapeutic actually.
So just to let you know that the pattern and the grey fabric have both sold out. But we still have the other fabrics. And the bias binding that Rebecca's using at the moment is the one that's on screen, $5.99, and that's for the 12mm, which is 1/2 inch. So when it says 12mm, that's the size it will be once it's made.
Yeah. So as you can see,
the size of the fabric strip.
No, the fabric strip has to be double that.
But also will end up half that size.
Yes.
Once you've folded it around something.
Yes, yeah.
So it's really confusing, isn't it, when you need to choose one, because it's not. It's 1/2 inch or 12mm like that.
Yeah.
But once you folded it round, it's then half.
Yes.
Half again.
Yeah, yeah. I would just say get them and just have a practice.
Yeah.
Because they are brilliant. So there's a little like bit there to put your fingers on, and you just pull and take your iron, keep going like that.
So you don't pull out much.
No, because otherwise, until it's ironed, that way it won't stay. Until it's ironed, so you just keep going, and you just keep going until you've done as much as you want to do, really. But it's a nice, easy way of doing it. Much harder to do it without.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know when I first used one, I thought, well, they look really simple. They can't be that great. I know, which is wrong, isn't it? Why do you think that? But I did. I always thought, oh, well, they look really simple.
But it's
they are fantastic.
You know, you turn it round and it's a lovely.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
So that's your measurement. That's your 12 mil.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's only when you fold it round something it becomes 1/4 inch.
Yes, that's
6
it.
mil.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Because on this, obviously, you'll go. I've already put some on this pocket.
Yeah.
But you'll attach it to one side and pull it over, and then attach it to the other,
Right.
so that it grips. But
So
I'll show that now.
doing meters and meters of it.
Yes. Yeah. Just keep
And then
going.
Fold it. And I suppose if you roll it round something, it will stay pressed.
Oh yes, because that's what I've done. I've just got a bit of card that I had. I mean, if you've got say you know, if you've had a roll of ribbon or a roll
Right,
and
okay.
you've got the the casing, keep it. I hunted and hunted. I couldn't find one. I've usually got loads of them,
really?
and I couldn't find one. So that's why I did a bit of
Or
card.
a kitchen roll.
Yeah, anything. And then you just as you say. I mean, I did that in the week,
Wow.
and it's
That's nice. Is that one from Calico?
yeah, that's from Calico.
That's a really good idea, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's quite a nice binding because
That's
I
what
quite
you've-
like Calico
And
anyway.
is that what
to be
you've
honest.
put on this
yes,
one?
Yeah,
I really like that.
yeah.
It's also a bit stiffer as well, isn't
Yes,
it, the Calico?
yeah. So it holds its shape a little
yeah,
bit
no,
more.
that's nice.
But yeah, so
Can you use other fabrics? I mean, have you ever done it with like satins and silks?
yeah. I mean, it's trickier,
Is
obviously, because it's
I've never tried that.
There's not much structure to it. So yeah, you just have to go quite slowly. But you can do it.
It does
Yeah,
work?
yeah, it does work.
Wow.
It does work. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've never
Yeah.
tried.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the thicker the fabric, there's quite a small, you know, to be a
Yes.
gap to get your fabric in there. So, but you just
So,
keep pushing it through,
Yeah, I
and it
suppose
will
if
go
it was
eventually.
a heavier weight
Yeah.
fabric, it wouldn't be as
Yeah,
easy.
yeah. With a wider one, probably easier.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah.
It'd be quite nice to do sort of satin binding. wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah.
Have to give it a go.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you'll be there for ages. It'd be great.
So do you bind, if you're going to
So
do
I-
the applique, do you do that first?
Yeah, well, I would do it on the flat before
Right.
you. I mean, in the instructions it says to join the shoulders first.
Okay.
I think if you've done it before and you know what you're doing, then go for it. But if you've not done it before, it might be easier to place it all on the flat before you put those shoulders together.
Right.
Just so you've got the freedom.
Okay,
And
to
not
do-
worrying
yeah,
about
that's
catching
true.
anything underneath the sewing machine.
Okay.
So it might be easier for some to do it that way.
Right, okay.
So yeah, so you go. I've gone around my pocket, and then there's clear markings on there where the pocket placement is.
Oh, okay.
Now this is the adult size, but I quite like the idea of having an adult size on that, a bit over
Oh, okay.
over big. And because I was thinking you could put a stitch down the middle, and you could put wooden spoons in and things
Yeah.
whilst they're helping you
Yes,
cook
that's
or
true.
whatever. But it does. I mean, this is the only pattern size for the pocket on there, but it
Right.
does say adjust it as you want
Oh,
to.
okay,
if-
so it's up to
obviously,
you how
if
big you make it.
if you want to do a smaller pocket on the child's one, then you can do that. So if I do the shoulder seams, so what you've got to remember is, there's my stars. I don't know if you can see those. It's a bit faint, isn't it?
Oh, so it's cut out as a... Oh, right, okay.
Cut out as a hole, and
Okay.
I've just marked that this is the pocket placement.
Right.
So I've just marked on where the pocket's going to go. So there's one that side.
And you're
there's one that
using the
side.
sky blue.
Yes.
Right. So if you want the one I showed you earlier, that was the sky blue fabric. That's the one that Rebecca's got on her desk. Half of the stock of this has gone already. It's a lovely colour,
It
isn't it?
is lovely, and it's like you said, it's a lovely weight as well.
So what
Great
would you
for-
use this for,
Um,
other than apron?
yeah, blinds would be
Oh,
good.
yeah, okay, yeah, 'cause it's the right weight for
yeah,
that.
like you said, bags would be good as
And
well.
would it be right for some kind of dressmaking?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, yeah. Because it's not stiff.
No, it's not super
It's,
stiff. So you could
no.
do like a pinafore in it or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, definitely. Nice skirt or something you could have in there.
An A-line.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Lovely colour as well, isn't it?
So the important thing to remember here is not to forget to cross over
Right.
your top.
Okay.
So obviously you kind of want to do that.
Yes. Yeah.
But that would just fall off. So make sure that you
Okay.
do it together.
So
we're going to do French seams. You can do French seams or you can overlock it, but French seams, nice and easy.
That sounds, yeah. So
nice and easy.
So sounds difficult.
No, it's not. It's not. It's an enclosed seam. So there's no loose edges. It's not going to fray.
Right.
So you'll be able to wash it. Nothing's going to happen to it. So it's fine. Basically, what it is, you right sides together. If you were doing it for anything else, it doesn't really matter on this because it's yeah.
Yeah, because it's double sided. But if you were using the floral one.
Yes, yes, exactly. So right sides together, which again feels very wrong, but that's the way to do it. So if you pin, so I've crossed over. Pin those two together. And you're going to sew half of your seam allowance. So it's a centimetre, I think I remember rightly, for this.
So it's what's wrong sides together, right?
Right sides together.
Right.
If you're using the floral to make sure that you get it the right way when you do when you come back. So yeah. So obviously make sure you've crossed your straps over. And then get to the machine.
And this is the French.
Now, yeah. So this is your first. So there's two seams. So this is your first seam.
And what's the seam allowance that you'd use for that?
This is, oh God, I don't work in centimetres usually. What's half of a centimetre?
5 mil.
Yeah.
Or quarter of an inch. So it's a smaller seam allowance than normal.
So it's as small as you can make it.
Okay.
Without obviously, don't go very near the edge because you'll just make it fray away.
So about a quarter of an inch.
Yeah.
Then.
Right, so you end up with something like that. And if I let's get the ironing board again.
So you sew both of them?
Both of them.
With the right sides together?
Yeah,
with
and then you're just going to press them to one side. Doesn't matter which side.
Okay, so not
just
open.
Yeah. Press all the seam allowance to one side, like that.
So what else would you use this seam for?
French seams. I mean, it's good for anything. If you haven't got an overlocker, then they're good to use for that because then your seams aren't going to fray, especially for things like chiffon and organza, which don't go very well through an overlocker. It's good for tricky, but that's the best thing to use them on, is a French seam for anything that's a very floaty fabric.
Okay.
I would say a French seam is.
Or I guess if your seams are going to be seen.
Yes.
Are going to be seen.
Yes. Yeah. That's it. So you press them to one side.
Right.
So then now you're on the straight. Now you're on the wrong side of the fabric. If you're using a fabric that's got a wrong side and a right side. So just for these purposes, we'll say that's the wrong side of the fabric. So you fold it over. Now you can feel where that seam allowance edge is. So you're just going to pop a pin in right on that edge, like that. Where's my other one gone? There it is. And again on that side. So fold it over.
So it's wrong sides together.
Yeah, so wrong sides together. And it does, the first time you do this, the whole time you're thinking that's not right, that's not right. That's because it just feels so wrong to be doing it like that. So then, that one.
So you just have to try and make sure that you've got that seam allowance enclosed.
Yes, yeah. I mean, if you've got, you know, if you've got a bigger seam allowance, then you can just cut away.
Oh, I see what you mean. So if you used a bigger seam allowance, then you would just trim it down.
Yeah, trim it down, but obviously not too much because you don't want the seam to come undone. So then if you turn that through, you've got your seam there. Where's my other one? Oh, have I done that the wrong way? No. What am I doing? It's inside out, that's why. See, I've confused myself. There we go. So there are your two seams.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they look, so on the outside they're just flat,
Yeah.
but on the inside.
So that's the front of your...
Right. Oh, so just show us what they look like on the inside.
So like that.
Okay.
On the inside. And
so
then,
it's really, really enclosed
neatly.
neatly.
It is very enclosed. Yeah.
So I guess if you've got like an unlined jacket or anything that's not lined where you're going to see the seam.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good, you know, it's a good seam to know how to use, you know.
Okay.
Because they're useful to have.
Yeah, and obviously perfect for this.
Yes.
But that is the only seam, isn't it?
It is.
Wow.
Yeah, the rest
That's
of
nice
it is
and
just,
easy.
yeah. So now we're on to pocket placement.
So when you bound the pocket, does it matter where you start?
What I did, I went around the curve and then went across the top.
Okay.
But I don't think it really matters
Right.
how you
Okay.
do it, to be honest.
So before we go on to the pocket, we've just got to recap the fabric. So the pattern itself has sold out and the grey fabric, but we still have the sky blue one that Rebecca's making her sample for, and that we're just talking about, this lovely sky blue, really like this. Over half of the stock of this one has gone, but it is an amazing price of £7.49 for a whole metre, and it's really wide. What's the width of this fabric? 150. Wow. 60 inches, 150 wide. That's a really good width, isn't it? And again, you remember, you know, you don't have to use this for an ape. You can use it for all sorts of things. I'm thinking pinafore, because I like pinafores. But A-line skirt, cushions, Roman blinds, outdoor cushions, really good for bag making. You know, sometimes, you know, when you want the base of a bag in a sort of a heavier weight fabric, but the main bag in like a quilting weight, it's perfect for that. Tablecloths, really lovely for tablecloths because it's a really nice weight. It could be really good to embroider or applique on because it is pure cotton. We've also got this lovely blue. This is like a mid-denim. I think this is my favourite one, actually, because this is a true denim. Because it really does make me think of artists' smocks. And you could use so much. It's a bit like, I always think denim's a bit of a neutral colour because it kind of goes with anything, doesn't it? Yeah. It's sort of, you can mix and match it with other things. So, again, ideal for dressmaking. A massive 150 centimetre wide, which is 60 inches, and a metre length for £9.49, which is a really good price for a denim. But it's got a nice drape to it. I mean, denim comes in all different weights anyway, but this has got a nice drape to it, so it should be a very good dressmaking denim as well. And then finally, I've just lost my cushion. Who's that? The lovely floral one, which is very sort of like watercolour flowers. It's got carnations, definitely got carnation. Not very good at flowers.
No, normally.
Definitely carnations, and there are some roses as well. And then there are other flowers. So, anyone who's good at flowers, what are the other ones? So there are definitely carnations. Well, I think it must have poppies on it as well. It's called Flower Bouquet. But it's really lovely shades of deep pinks, all shades of pink, from very light to very deep. And then very red as well, and then lovely green. But you get a really nice mixture of colours in there, and it is all that sort of hand-painted watercolour effect with a few splashes of yellow for the centre of the flowers. But it is very hand-painted. So what a pretty apron. But again, you know, you don't have to use that for an apron. That would be ideal for dressmaking as well. Or, you know, say you want to make some cushions for your caravan, or for outdoors, getting ready for when the sun finally decides to appear. That would be perfect. The rotary cutter set, yes. So a couple of people. Do you ever use rotary cutting in your dressmaking?
I don't. I've always used scissors.
Okay.
I've never used a rotary
New
cutter.
year, new you, Rebecca.
Right, exactly. Maybe I should give it a go.
Well, for cutting bias strips.
Yes. Oh, it'd be perfect.
Be perfect,
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
it
Because
would
you've
be.
got to get them accurate.
Yeah.
So this was our early bird this morning, and this is a special set for you at $19.99, and you get the mat, which is the proper mat because it's self-healing, won't go through. Oh, it is as well. We didn't show that this morning. Look at that. It's got two sides to it. You turn it round. I didn't even notice that one this morning. Show you that this morning. Let me turn it around to face me. This size is metric, the other size is imperial. So it depends how you sew. But it isn't just the mat. Now, you have to use a mat when you do rotary cutting because obviously you will cut through your table, leave great big grooves. But this is self-healing. No idea how that works. I've often wondered. But when you cut through it, it joins itself back together as if by magic. But it will last forever. I've had my cutting mat for about 20 years and it still hasn't cut through.
Wow.
It won't last forever. But mine so far has lasted for about 20 years and I haven't cut through it. I guess eventually they probably do. You have to sort of move over where you cut a bit. But you also get the ruler, which is 6 inches by 12 inches, actually 6.5 by 12, and you get the rotary cutter. So you can't use any of these without each other. That's what you have to use, the ruler with the cutter, because otherwise you cut your fingers, and you need the mat. But it's also got all the measurements on it, so it's got all the inch markings and the degrees. So if you're cutting bias strips like Rebecca was just talking about, you've got the 45-degree angle, so it makes it a lot easier. So after midnight tonight, the price will go up to $29.99, but so until midnight on our special early bird offer, $19.99, which is an amazing price. So we've worked it out. It makes your cutting mat come out at £6.66, the ruler £6.66, and your rotary cutter £6.66. And we don't do any of those items for that price individually. So it is a really good, a really good offer. So if you haven't tried rotary cutting before, like Rebecca says, you know, cutting bias strips, perfect for, because you will get a lovely straight line. Obviously, it's really good for patchwork. Or if you've got rotary cutting equipment already, it's a really good extra set because it's a small mat and it turns. It's not a spinning mat. You have to. It is you have to do it yourself. But it does mean that, because you can get mats that do spin. But it does mean that when you cut something and you don't want to move it and you want to cut the other way, because you should always cut with your hand, if you're right-handed, your hand on the ruler on the left and you're cutting on the right or the other way around. And you shouldn't ever cut towards you. I've got my blade covered, so this is not dangerous. You shouldn't ever cut towards you, and you shouldn't really cut that way. You need to be cutting. It's all to do with having the weight on and cutting away from you. That's the safest. It's not, you shouldn't also cut that way because you don't have the same downward pressure. So this is a great deal. We've had a look online. We've looked at all the different prices you can get it for, but this is a fantastic deal. And it won't be like that forever. Not after midnight anyway. Right. So if you get it in your basket, good luck, because we are getting more limited on our stock now. And if you want to you can either buy it on the website sewingstreet.com, or remember, for any of the products we've got today, you can also use the call centre number 0800 001 4433. Okay. So back to the pocket.
Back to the pocket.
So you found the
all I've
pocket and you went round the edge and across the top.
I
as
did.
2 separate pieces?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So all you've got to do is fold the ends in, make them neat, and stitch over the top.
Okay.
That's all.
Right.
So it's not complicated.
And how do you sew it on?
Well, the thing with me with bias binding, a lot of people can put it on like that and do 1 stitch and it catches the back.
I can't do that.
No, never works with me.
No,
I've always got huge gaps where,
Always.
So I always attach it to one side,
right,
press it, and then bring it over.
Yeah,
and then top stitch.
Okay. Yeah, no, I do as well.
Oh, if you can see it on.
Yes,
my
I've never ever been able to fold it over.
Nor me.
I don't know how people do that.
No, I don't either. I've tried and that's something that I just
and actually,
can't do. I take my hat off to anybody
and
who can.
I still don't catch it on the back all the time.
No, I don't either. Not all the time.
I then have to sort of do a little bit of hand sewing.
Yeah. So yes. So you as I said, you've got your marks where your pocket placement is, but you can put it anywhere really.
Yeah. Okay. So you could, but at this stage, you could put your apron on and see.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you've done the shoulder seams.
Yeah. It's it's there for a guidance. So
right. Okay.
If use it as you want to really. So now I'm going to top stitch this on. So if you've done your shoulders, just make sure that you've got everything out of the way, because obviously it wants to come together at the back.
So you don't want to sew your apron together.
Yeah, don't want to sew your apron
So you have to top stitch the top of the binding on, and then you...
Yes, yeah. So I'm just going to go round the edge.
That's very neat.
Yeah, well, I probably won't be able to do that now.
That's very, very neat. So you've top stitched it, the binding, and then you've done the extra top stitching for this.
Yeah,
I see
now it's a bit thick at the top as you start off.
Wow.
Just take it slowly.
And I presume you go around the outside edge as well?
Yes.
It's very neat, I have to say. It's very neat. Oh, I'm going away.
And you're going round a curve, so obviously go slow with it if that's what you need to do. I like these machines because the needle stays in, doesn't it, when you've... I haven't got one like that.
What?
The needle stays in.
Yes, my old one didn't. Mine does, and I absolutely love that about it. It's my favourite thing.
Great, isn't it?
It's just brilliant. And so it always ends up with the needle down and the foot up.
Yeah.
But when I use a machine now that doesn't do that, I expect it to. It doesn't, but it is a...
Yeah.
If I had to list things that I'd like my sewing machine to do, needle down and foot up is definitely one of them.
Most definitely.
More than cutting the thread, actually. But not all sewing
Yes.
machines do it, but it's a wonderful thing. Well, I think because I do a lot of home sewing, so I'm always doing corners and edges and curves.
Yeah.
So you've got 4 minutes left, Rebecca.
Oh, crikey, is that all?
I know.
Right, okay.
Where did that go? We haven't talked about binding a lot.
We
It's
have,
been
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah. So, yeah, don't look too closely at this one because I've gone off. I can see I've gone off there because I've got a slightly darker thread on there. So, and then the next thing is just, I'll do a little bit of it, is just to, I'll use this one.
There's some binding I made earlier.
Just to put your binding on. So, I mean,
where do you start?
Well, I started because I was thinking, okay, so I don't really want to see a seam at the front of my apron. So, where are we? So it is a bit complicated. It's a bit. So I started sort of down here.
Oh, okay.
On the side.
So that it was like at the back.
Yeah.
Then.
So
you
what
can't. Would be.
You might, you'll find it
I'll
somewhere.
probably find it. I'll put my glasses
Where
on.
I've connected
Well,
it
let's see.
to.
Where did the not find it? Making noises. Well, I can't see.
You
where
can't find
started
it?
No,
Oh,
it's
well,
too
there you-
neat.
Oh, there you go.
Oh no, there it is.
You found it.
You started on the bottom of the curve.
Ah, there you go.
Just there. So start at the back somewhere.
Yeah, start at the back somewhere. So obviously, as you're starting, you need to fold a little bit over. You see, fold a little bit over, because when you go all the way round, you'll be then stitching on top.
Right.
So that's when it comes around. That's your neatened edge.
Okay.
So make sure that you fold over before you
and
start.
you sew it.
Sew it
folded
down.
over.
Yeah, sew it down like that. So I'll just go round a little bit.
So you just open it all out and sew along the crease.
Yeah. So yes, exactly. Which makes it nice and easy, because all you're doing is sewing in that iron crease. And when you're putting this on, try not to stretch it, because you want the ease of it to be going around those corners. So just lay it.
Right.
Don't
pull it round.
Yeah, don't pull it. And when you're going round a corner, just lay it gently, lay it softly down. And then it'll work for you as it goes round those corners.
I guess if you pull it too much, it will pucker the fabric then.
Yeah.
It must be quite hard then to just sort of lay it but not stretch it.
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit of practice.
It's a really good technique to be able to master though, isn't it? Because you can use it for so many things.
Oh, you can. Yeah, it's brilliant.
I bet you're always binding him.
It's a lovely way to
making.
Yeah, well yes, you do.
Everything's bound and perfectly finished.
Or piped, as we're going to do next.
Oh yeah, piping next. So when Rebecca comes back at 11, piping.
So
today you will have learned so much. By the time we finished at 1 o'clock, we'll have learned loads.
Hopefully, that's the idea, isn't it? So what I'll do...
Well, it's just a way of learning, things that are very transferable as well.
What I'll do is I'll stop there and just show you.
Okay.
So if I just press that really quickly.
So when you get to the other end, you just overlap and trim.
That's it, yeah.
Right.
So just open that out and press it down. You want the seam going into the centre of your binding. Just so it's nice and flat. Makes it a lot easier for when you when you come to top stitch the rest of it. And then you can start top stitching. So you turn it over and it should cover your stitch mark. So when you turn it over like that, you should be covering your stitch mark.
Right.
Now you can pin this. I don't usually, I just go.
But then you have been sewing for many years.
Yeah. But yes,
so
I would.
Do you sew from the right side or the wrong side?
The pin. So this is now the right side.
Okay.
So the top stitch, the lovely neat top stitching will be on the outside.
On the outside.
Yeah.
So you sew from
on the right side of your And
I guess because you've made the bias binding properly, then it will catch it because you folded it exactly in half.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, you just catching it down.
I think this was where it makes a difference if you've used a tape maker, is that because it does fold it perfectly in half.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
when you do it yourself, it's not always...
you never... I mean, before I had a bias binding maker and I'd do it myself, it would never... At least, when you've made your binding with one of those, it's going to be perfect.
Yeah. I think, it's one of those things, isn't, often you do get what you pay for, but I think this is one of those tools that is very simple, very inexpensive, but amazing.
It is so useful. It's good. It's just good to have in your kit, really.
Okay.
So I'm going around a tiny little corner.
Yeah, no, that's
here.
fine. If you then show us that, then we can, we'll have learned how to bind. Brilliant. But you do need a tape maker. Buy yourself a tape maker. Don't be sceptical like me. I did buy one for years because I thought they must be rubbish. I know. But normally, you think, oh, yeah, it's probably a gimmick.
So there you
It's
go.
just a brilliant thing.
So can you see?
Look how beautiful that is.
And it's gone slightly round.
Yeah, but that's
that's the beauty of this. As you go round the corners, it will go round with you,
Has a
because it's
little
got
bit
that
of
slight
give.
bit of ease, because
Right.
you've cut it on the cross.
That's fantastic.
So
Well, thank you so much,
that's
Becca.
all
That's
right,
been
it's a
brilliant.
pleasure.
So we will see you again at 11.
Okay.
Bolster, cushion and piping.
Yes.
We're going to have learned loads today. It's
Brilliant.
great, isn't it? Well, thank you anyway. I'm just going
Thank
to
you
do a
very much.
quick roundup of what we've got left. So the light blue is sold out, and even the dark blue, but that's fine. So they've all sold out, which is lovely. But we've had a picture sent through from Allison Maryon, who designed the apron. And this is her daughter and her grandchildren all wearing Mummy and Me's and Mummy. Aren't they lovely? And look, can you see the picture of with all the applique? There's the pencil pocket, there's the paint palette pocket, and the mixing bowl pocket. I love them. So you can use the pattern, and you can make the apron for all different occasions, or make several aprons. But we've got loads and loads of different fabrics online that you can use to make the apron, particularly if you're making a children's one. The canvas was ideal for the bigger ones, but look, I love these. I like these mice. This is my favourite one. So if you go onto the website, onto the sewingstreet.com website, and go under patterned fabric, you can find all of the different prints that we've got there. And this is my favourite one. You can make an apron in Liberty fabric, in spots and checks and flowers, or green mice. Oh, I love that vegetable one. That's really nice. Small veggie collage on white fabric. That's a lovely one. Oh, the code for the mice, if you like the green mice as much as I do, is GBLJ45. I like it because it's a real apple green with spots, and it's got these little mice skipping about. Ideal for a children's apron, or be really good maybe if you wanted to make the pocket in a different contrast fabric. It's just really fun. Just really fun. There you go, cute mice on green fabric. It's only $4.99 for half a metre, but it also comes in blue and mauve. I would say like a mauvey pink colour. It's really nice, isn't it? And once you've bought something and you've paid for your P&P, before you finish off, it's always worth having a look around the website to see what other things we do. I mean, this would be great for children's clothing, for dressmaking, or actually, I would quite happily make myself a summer blouse in that green mice fabric. What fun. Brilliant for lining something as well. Anyway, I will be back with you in a couple of minutes at 10 o'clock, and we're going to be talking about extra wide backing fabric and wadding. I know a lot of you have been shopping for it already, but I'm going to talk you through the different ones we have and why you should use it. And in the spirit of New Year, new technique and new things, I'm going to show you how to mitre bind, double fold binding on the edge of a quilt, and how to mitre a corner neatly. So I will see you in just a few minutes.
Stuck for ideas for the perfect gift? Why not get them a gift card? You can buy Sewing Street and Yarn Lane gift cards loaded up with anything from £10 to £500. Shop our gift cards online at www.sewingstreet.com or www.yarnlane.com, or purchase them via our UK call centre on 0800 001 44 33.
If you'd like to get in touch with us during our live show and send in any messages or any questions, then you can do it on studio@sewingstreet.com. Alternatively, you can message us on our official Facebook page.
New Years are always about trying new things, so why not try out a new hobby?
From the 4th to the 10th of January, Sewing Street will be bringing you a week packed with demonstrations on new techniques, beginners tutorials and brand new projects. With everything from ribbon art, making your own sleepwear, new quilting techniques and beginners homeware makes. We have something for everyone. Sign up to our email newsletter and follow us on social media to find out what's on when. And watch our New Year, New Hobby shows from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Monday the 4th to Sunday the 10th of January on Freeview 72, Sky 670, our YouTube channel or Facebook Live.
Have you heard about Yarn Lane, a TV show dedicated to knitting, crochet and all things yarn, bringing you demonstrations from our expert guests as well as the latest tools. And find out what's coming up on the show by following us on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe to our email newsletter or visit the programme guide on our website at www.yarnlane.com.
Hi there, my name's Allison Maryon and I'm thrilled to be joining the Sewing Street family. I live in Staffordshire where I run a couple of sewing groups and I have a passion for vintage sewing machines and also applique. I've stitched in some form for as long as I can remember, but I absolutely love teaching and helping people stretch their skills and hopefully demystifying some of the techniques that can be quite daunting for beginners. So I'm looking forward to meeting the team and getting into the studio. See you soon.
Stuck for ideas for the perfect gift? Why not get them a gift card? You can buy Sewing Street and Yarn Lane gift cards loaded up with anything from £10 to £500. Shop our gift cards online at www.sewingstreet.com or www.yarnlane.com, or purchase them via our UK call centre on 0800 001 44 33.
New Years are always about trying new things, so why not try out a new hobby? From the 4th to the 10th of January, Sewing Street will be bringing you a week packed with demonstrations on new techniques, beginners tutorials and brand new projects. With everything from ribbon art, making your own sleepwear, new quilting techniques and beginners homeware makes. We have something for everyone. Sign up to our email newsletter and follow us on social media to find out what's on when. And watch our New Year, New Hobby shows from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Monday the 4th to Sunday the 10th of January on Freeview 72, Sky 670, our YouTube channel or Facebook Live.
If you'd like to get in touch with us during our live show and send in any messages or any questions, then you can do it on studio@sewingstreet.com. Alternatively, you can message us on our official Facebook page. Have you heard about Yarn Lane, a TV show dedicated to knitting, crochet and all things yarn, bringing you demonstrations from our expert guests as well as the latest tools. And find out what's coming up on the show by following us on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe to our email newsletter or visit the programme guide on our website at www.yarnlane.com.
And welcome back to Sewing Street. So today, this hour is all about quilting. Well, quilting as in we've got extra wide quilt backings and wadding as well. But what I love about these extra wide backings is that you think, well, they're quilt backings, but they're not just for quilting. You can use them for anything, but you just get loads more fabric. They are all 108 inches wide which is 274 centimetres, so that's massive. Now they're all of them, because I've got quite a lot here, they're all the same width, they're all 100% cotton, even the brand new ones. And now, so they're all on pre-order, so we've put them all on. If you go on to www.sewingstreet.com out on the web and click on watch live, beneath that they're all on there, so you can buy them from now. They've already been selling. Now, the obvious benefit to these extra wide backings is you don't have to join anything. So you think traditionally they're for quilts, because if you're backing a quilt, you don't really want to join the fabric. You have to buy so much more. You often have to buy like 6 meters of fabric to back a quilt. But with this, because it's extra wide, they're perfect. But do you know what? They're brilliant for dressmaking. It's so much easier quite often with patterns where you have to join bits together or you have to cut things on the fold. Because they're so wide, they're actually much better value for money than if you buy it all by the narrower fabric. So they are brilliant for that. They're fantastic for any homeware, particularly sort of more lightweight curtains, obviously, because it's not heavyweight curtain fabric, but it's so that extra width. Brilliant for curtain lining. And I always think, you know, rather than using a plain cotton fabric for lining, you could use one of these. They're lovely. And you just get a lot more for your money. So shall we have a look at the width? It's hard to show you it's hard to explain what it looks like without showing you. So I like these fabrics because these are sort of plain, only they're not. Actually, you can't see very well with that one, so I'm going to show you on the grey one more. They are all they're all sort of got a plain background, but then they've got this lovely mottled effect on top, which just gives the fabric, it looks like it has texture. Just a bit more interesting than using a plain fabric. So this is, I can't believe that, $8.99. That's amazing. How is that such a good price? $8.99 for half a metre. And Hannah says it's her fault because when we first ever sold extra wide backing, she put them in at $8.99 for half a metre and stuff. Because normally that's $8.99 and that's 274 centimetres wide. Now normal quilt weight fabric is 112, so it's more than twice the width. But it's still quilting weight, but the normal quilting weight fabric is 112. So this is actually more than double the width of a normal fabric, but it's only $8.99 for half a metre. So in order for me, now this is just half a metre's length. So this is what you're going to get for your $8.99. So I'm going to pin it to this because I haven't got a friend to hold the other end. Otherwise I'd have someone to, I've just got to, will she pin in there? Yes. Now don't move. Don't move. Just stay where you are. So all for your $8.99. Look, I'm still going. I'm doing it very gently, otherwise I'm worried she'll move. Bag linings, curtains, cushions. So, can you see? Look at that. Look at the width of that. Now, remember, this is half a metre. Now, as you know, anyone who shops on Sewing Street regularly knows, we sell our fabrics are cut to order. So if you want more than a half a metre, you won't just get lots of half metre pieces, you'll get them cut. So say, for example, you think, well, I want 2 metres, you need to put 4 units in the basket because that's 4 times half a metre. So, and it will all come joined together. We won't send you it in little bits. So because all of our fabric is cut to order exactly as you want them, we have specialist fabric cutters in the warehouse who, when the orders come through, I've been in there and seen them, they're just there constantly with big cutting machines and rotary cutters, and they will cut it for order for you. And it's fantastic, you know, because extra wide quilt backings, when you normally see them, there's not a lot of choice, but we've got some great colours. So we've got, that was the, what was that one called? The light grey. And this one is called, this is the most popular. I guess maybe, is this the most neutral? So it's a very, very pale grey. And it's also, and it's got like that slight mottled thing. So, you know, excellent for quilt borders. You know, when you don't want to have to join. when you're edging a quilt and you have to sort of have about 4 or 5 joins in your border, and it would look nice if it was one piece. It's perfect for that. So if you bought just half a metre of this, that would be great for, you can make lots of, you know, you could probably border the whole quilt in it, because of it being 108 inches, 274 centimetres wide, that is enough for your borders. Most quilts as well, because you always need your quilt backing fabric to be about 8 inches bigger than your quilt, or 4 inches all round. Then most quilts won't be as big as this. So this is the, look at that, look at how many cushions. So if you think 50 centimetres is enough to make an 18-inch cushion with seam allowances, because 50 centimetres is about 20 inches. So say you wanted to make an 18-inch cushion, you think how many cushions you'd get out of that? For $8.99. So, you know, and this isn't like just, this is quilting weight and quality cotton fabric. So so a third of the stock of this lovely pale mottled grey has already sold out. But you think how many cushions or cushion backs you could make from this? Or, I'm going to put this one in my box. I'm not going to hang this one up. Or, you know, for toiles, instead of using calico for practicing your dressmaking, be ideal for that, because you've got so much of it, haven't you? And at the $8.99, that's such a good price. So if you wanted to do a toile, you know, you've got a beautiful dress pattern, you don't want to get it wrong, you could buy this and use this to practice your dressmaking, fit it so it's right. It's, you know, or for any kind of practice pieces, perfect for embroidery as well. You could get so much out of this. I mean, it's the sort of thing, if you had a metre of it, there'd be lots and lots of different uses. Or you could buy enough for the whole quilt if that's what you want to use it for. But it isn't, I mean, it is fantastic quality. I think it's just that if you're going to do some practice, because you've got a lot there, you've got a lot to play with. So it's nice that you've got some for making mistakes with and then some for use. The next colour I've got is this beautiful pillar box red. Brand new today. Let me just open it out so you can see it. So it's beautiful. I mean, it really is pillar box red, and then it's got a darker red sort of mottled splash. But you know, if you wanted to do a bit of, because we've got a navy blue as well, you could use red, white and blue with it. Or if maybe you want to make a red and white quilt, this is perfect, isn't it? Because it's got a little, I like the slightly textured look to it. It gives it a little bit more movement and feel to it. So should we open this one out? It might sell out. Shall we see? It's very, very popular. I'm going to pin it to my lady. Let's see if it sells out by the time I get to the other end, because it's about to. But you know, it's what's good about it. Maybe you've got some Moda fabrics, maybe you've got some designer fabrics like Cape or Moda or Tulle or something, and you want to, because it's such a rich colour, and you want to add some other fabric to it that's just a little bit more affordable. Fantastic, isn't it? Half of the stock of that has gone now. Checked out, gone, boom. But only half of it, still another half left. But there is a lot in people's baskets. And remember, if you want more than half a metre, just put that number of units and you will get it as a full cut piece. But maybe you've got a quilt planned for the new year at some point, then get your backing now. Binding, can you imagine for binding? You'd have so much. Like Rebecca was saying, if you bought a metre of it, you could just cut it all on the diagonal, make up your binding with your Bias Binding Maker. They're only $5.99. And metres of binding. Next colour we've got is this lovely, right, red is just about to sell out. So if you want it, put it in very, very, very quickly. This one is navy. So it is, yeah, what I like about this is because the contrast texture print is in black, then the navy itself isn't a really deep, dark midnight navy. It's more of a lighter navy, so that it does show up. But I think the mixture between the two, the black and the lighter navy, it makes it look like navy. Does that make any sense? But it just works really well. But it is a really nice navy. Look, you see, if you put that with if I put it with the red, it really shows how the navy really stands out, doesn't it? Beautiful. I mean, the navy, you know, it really is an all-purpose fabric, isn't it? But, you know, for dressmaking, just think how you could get so much out of this, couldn't you? Be nice for dressmaking. Make a nice pinafore. And because there's so much of it, I always feel like you want to buy a little bit more. So if you cut a bit out wrong, you want to practice, or you're not sure about the bodice size, then you get the extra value. So that's all those quilts that you never got round to backing, all those lovely patchwork cushion fronts you've made, but you've not got round to finishing off. So what's 274 divided by 50? That's 5, isn't it? So you could make 5 cushion backs if you were going to make like 18-inch cushions. 5 from 1/2 metre. That's amazing. And that's if they're, you know, but if they were smaller ones, you'll obviously get more. But, you know, if you were doing sewing for charity, perfect. You could make quite a lot of masks out of this as well, should you be making them for people. And then, finally, in this range, we've got black. What I like with this is it looks a bit like that sort of textured embossed cotton, because it's black, and I bet it just doesn't show up very well on camera. It's black, but again, like with that navy one, it's got the black texture on it. But because it's black on black, it does look very like an embossed cotton. But, you know, use it as a background colour. You know, I've seen a lot of quilts where people use black and then they use really vibrant, I mean, Tula uses it a lot. The really vibrant sort of turquoises and pinks and oranges look absolutely amazing alongside this. That kind of stained glass window look. But, you know, or bargello, so maybe you want some black lines in it. But, you know, black is really obviously great for dressmaking as well. But it's nice. I think it is nice. It does make other colours really sing on their own. Black is such a useful colour for all those kind of things. It's really good for linings as well. If you're making bags and you want to line them so it keeps clean, doesn't show up any of the dirt, making wash bags, that kind of thing, black is perfect for that. But again, $8.99 for 208 inches, which is, 108 inches, which is 274 centimetres. Okay. Right, which one should we do next? This one. This one has sold out. Right. Well done if you've managed to get one, because that one is so, I love that one. Have we got it in the blue? This one has only been on once before. I like this. It's like little dots all over the place, or speck. It is very Aboriginal. It's like, let me just lay it flat so you can have a good look at it. So it's like Aboriginal art where you've got all dots, but there's spirals of circles. So the background is a very deep navy blue, and then the colours, you've got white, turquoise, quite bright blues, but because it's got all these spots, it's beautiful, isn't it? So, I mean, obviously, if you make a quilt, I think it's a shame when you make a quilt that you put a plain back on. I know it might be hanging against the wall or lying on a bed, but it is lovely to be able, for $8.99 for 1/2 metre, it's really lovely to be able to put that colour on it. So shall I open this one out? Because I think you probably get a better idea. But the blues on it are really vibrant. So if you wanted to use it for something where it was the feature fabric, but, you know, or you wanted to use it, say, for the binding or the borders on a quilt, then it's important to see what it looks like. It really is. And also it's a non-directional print because it's circles. So it's really useful for, say, when you're creating borders for things and you want to mitre them and join them, it will go both ways without you having to pattern match or anything, because it does go all around. It's really lovely though, isn't it? For $8.99. And it is it's just a lovely, it's nice that you've got that mixture of navy and turquoise and bright sort of electric blue as well. Yeah, but it is, I mean, when you think of some of the design, like the cave fabrics, it is actually very cave. He would design something like this. It would match in with all of those. But, you know, for this, with this width, you could use it for bed linen as well. You could actually make your duvet cover. Think like a double bed size. Be really unusual. You could use this for one size, buy a sheet for the back, or curtains. I mean, they're more lightweight. I mean, I would use it. I wouldn't, it depends on what the curtains were for, but I would probably use it. You could use it for curtain linings. It'd be ideal for that. Oh, let me unpin him. Oh. But you know, when you think like, or you could, you know, when you get bunk beds in a children's room, it'd be really nice to make like little curtains. And at this price, you know, you can afford to sort of have that extra and do something a bit fun with it. Be great for bunk bed curtains or play tents. You know, for the children in the garden, you make those teepees, play tents, and they require masses of fabric. Or you know, the sort of the canopies that hang over the beds, that sort of thing. Be ideal for that, because you need so much fabric and the width, and it's so nice you haven't got to join it as well. Right, which one should we do next? Oh, I like that one. The furnace sold out already. That's very unusual. And that one. Do we not have very much of these anyway then? But you see, today everybody is pre-buying these. I think it's because of the price. I love the swirls. Do we have the swirls? The squiggle. Now, I love this colour. It's a real lime green. Real lime green. It's bright and it's fun. Very multi-directional with the black squiggles. Obviously ideal for a quilt back, but you know, like a play tent in the garden, or you know, when you make those, they're just a big cloth to go over the table to play underneath. But actually, for a tablecloth, it's fantastic, because at £8.99, you know, you'd need probably in length a couple of meters for, you know, for a really big table. Most people's tables aren't that long, but you've got loads of width on it as well. But it's just really nice, isn't it? You know, we always have a Christmas tablecloth, but we don't ever have one, so when other people come around at the times of the year, this would be great for that, wouldn't it? And you could have it all, you'd have a whole tablecloth and matching napkins and chair seat covers and everything to match. But actually, I think this is nice for a, you know, for a spring blouse or dress, because it is quilting weight fabric. So, you know, you can use it for dressmaking and home sewing. Should we open it out? Oh, it's got cool. But you know, what's nice is, remember, you don't have to use it for quilting. You can use it for all sorts of things. It's just nice if you like the colour and you like the pattern. I think that would be nice. And yeah, because green is one of those colours you don't always have. When I sorted all my fabrics, I had loads of blue and loads of pink and red, but not much green. It is very lime. I'll tell you what it is. It's the colour of a Granny Smith. Look how long that is. It's lovely, isn't it? Really, really nice fabric. I love the black squiggles on it. Do you know what would be great for things like if you had to make costumes for school plays and stuff, you know, when you need loads of it and then it's quite expensive. But if you had to make, or you were having to make curtains for like a school play, that sort of thing, because it's so wide and immensely just great value. Because remember, it is wider than double. It's more than 2 times normal width. Right, and then the next one, let's go green. So this is a lovely check. It's a bit like graph paper, but rubbish graph paper, because it's not evenly checked. But it's perfect for backgrounds. We used to have we used to sell a fabric that had this sort of check on, but in a smaller version, and I had loads of it in different colours. It's just really useful. I love this kind of, because it's like hand draw. I'll tell you what it's like, hessian or linen, where you get the threads that are slightly wiggly, so it's not even. And why this is great for particularly patchwork and quilting is that it's very hard when you get striped fabric to cut along the lines, but because the lines are all sort of wiggly, it doesn't really matter. But it just gives a lovely texture to things. It's very good for things like leaves. If you're doing a plique, pineapple leaves is ideal for. So if you're doing patchwork and you needed to do some leaves for something, or a plique, it'd be brilliant for that. But again, you know, any of your home sewing bags, cushions, all sorts. Nice. It's a nice colour. It's not as bright. Let me show you so you can see. It's sometimes not easier to understand greens when you can see the contrast. It's not as bright as the Granny Smith lime green as this. It's slightly duller, but the lines actually are a very dark green. They're not black. But you can see the difference. But that's a lovely, if you want some more green in your stash, those two are brilliant, aren't they? Really like that one. And then we've got one final extra wide backing, which is exactly the same as this one, but in I love this colourway. That's what it's called. But it's not. It's navy. Oh. No, there's not. No, I think it's navy. It is, because actually if you look at the back of it, that's definitely navy, isn't it? Right, one moment. We're going to have a little test. This is the only way I can find out whether I've got navy tights or black tights. Paul said he has the same problem. You have to put the black next to it and then you know whether it's navy or not. So it's a very, very dark midnight navy with lighter navy grid lines. So it's great as a plain fabric with a little bit of extra texture and movement. It's perfect. Can you imagine this was sort of for cushions or soft furnishings in, you know, more of like an office type setting or a teenage bedroom? It'd be perfect, wouldn't it? But for the background of a quilt, maybe you're making a world map or anything like that. I made my daughter a picnic quilt for Christmas and it had a dark navy background and then it had strawberries and pineapples on it. But this would have been ideal. I didn't have that then. I'd have a different one. But this is lovely for background because it's got a little bit of texture. So it's more interesting than the plain fabric, but it's not too shouty. So any other thing, so if you used whites or creams or reds against this, it's lovely, isn't it? So if I put a pair of scissors, because then you can sort of, ooh, it's stuck to the pins. You can kind of see the scale of it. They are magnetised scissors, clearly, look. That's amazing. Who knew? So all of the fabrics that I've just shown you, they are all $8.99 for half a metre. They are all 274 centimetres wide. I would recommend you get them quite quickly because you've already seen a lot of them have sold out. I just wanted to, because we are getting lower in stock of our early bird. If you're new to patchwork quilting or new to rotary cutting, this is where you start. You've got the mat, which is double-sided, so you've got inches on one side, ta-da, centimetres on the other. It's got 45, 60 and 30-degree angles for it, so it's perfect for, you know, although this is a fantastic price at $19.99, it is actually what you need. It's not just sort of some cheap version. It is perfect. It is I've had this at home for a few weeks because Paul, our buyer, gave it to me and said, try this out, tell me what you think. We want to bring them something that's good value for people who want to start for the new year, but we don't want to give them something that's rubbish. So I've had it for a few weeks and it's really good. Love it. Absolutely perfect. And so the idea was that we would give you a really special early bird for the start of New Year, new things. And a lot of people, like even just talking to Rebecca there, who's been, is an experienced dressmaker, been doing it for years, has not got the rotary cutting equipment. It'd be brilliant. And it's great. You will find it changes so many things. You can cut with such greater accuracy and speed. So you've got the mat, the ruler, which again is marked with all the measurements you need. I'll just take it off the mat so you can see. It's got the 30, 45 and 60 degree angles. So you can cut on the bias, you can use it for all triangles. And you've got the rotary cutter, which has got the 45mm blade, which is perfect for, because it's kind of just the average size. And it makes it, Hannah worked it out, as £6.66 per item. And we can't even compete with that ourselves. So our most affordable rotary cutter that we sell on our website is $8.99. So, I mean, and obviously one of these wouldn't be the same price, but we can't even compete with this price. But remember, at midnight, it goes up to $29.99. So if you've always wanted to try rotary cutting but haven't wanted to commit to buy all three, because you have to have all three items, or if you want a smaller mat, which is what I've got now because they said I can keep mine, it's brilliant for foundation paper piecing because you can cut and you can turn and then you can cut and you can turn, and that's great. And I really like to be able to, and if you do foundation paper piecing or you trim half square triangles, you'll know what I mean. I am going to go on about this all day because it is amazing offer, because it is just all about the start to the new year. So it's fun. It is great. Let's talk. Oh, I need to move to get to wadding because we have got quite a lot of it. Excuse me. That lady's always in my way, isn't she? Okay, look at my whole table full of wadding. How exciting is this? In fact, I can't even see you. I've got so much wadding. It's brilliant, isn't it? So we are going to start which end? Wool. So wadding comes in all different qualities. You can get wool, you can get nylon, you can get cotton, you can get mixes. It also comes in different sizes. It's fantastic, isn't it? And it depends what you're doing as to what wadding you need, but it also depends on what your budget is and what size of thing you're making. So different waddings do different things. So if I went into a shop, it is, and when I first started, I remember when I made my first quilt, which was a cot quilt, not even that big, it was like, I don't even know what should I use? And I think I probably bought some really cheap wadding that wasn't that great, and it wasn't actually big enough. I learned very quickly that particularly if you're going to make a quilt, you don't want to be joining wadding. You need to buy wadding that's big enough for your quilt. Remember, it needs to be at least 4 inches bigger all round, so 8 inches bigger than your quilt overall. So shall we start with wool? Ooh. This is something that you don't often see. I'm going to just hold it up so you can see this one. Wool batting. So this one here is the king size, which you can see all the measurements on screen. So about 3 meters wide, 120 or 120 inches. So this is, most quilts are going to come within this size. Now, what's great about this wool wadding, it is 100% wool. So you imagine how warm that is. I mean, you've got fantastic insulation with you've got great insulation, but wool, it keeps you cool, but keeps you warm as well. So it is the only 100% natural wadding. But the good thing about this is it's washable. And it's really important, that, isn't it? Because you don't ever know when you don't really want to make a quilt and wad it and then not be able to wash it. But it is washing. It is hygroscopic, which means it will absorb water like wool does. It will absorb moisture without getting damp, which could be really important because it can keep you warm. You quilt it by machine, you can quilt it by hand. It feels so light, really soft. I think if you've made a quilt that you particularly want to use in the winter, you want the warmth of it, this is perfect. This is really worth treating yourself to. So now it's important when you choose there are 2 of these. Should we do the other size, just so you know that there is another size? These are both exactly the same. So this one is $53.99, and this is the queen size. So this is 228 by 274 or 90 by 108 inches. If you go onto the website, you will see all of these sizes there. So if you want to have a closer look and measure your quilt and be sure you're buying the right one, all the information is on there. Now, it's important that you know how far apart you can quilt with this. Because with some waddings, you need to quilt, because I think this one is 3 inches. It can be quilted up to 3 inches apart, not any further than that. But you obviously can quilt closer than that, but it's important to know that because if you want to have it more than that, it won't stick to the quilt as well. So it's up to, you don't really want to be quilting, leaving bigger gaps than that. Because if we look at the cotton wadding, I just can't remember. Yeah, as far as 3.5 inches apart. So they are slightly different. But what they're saying is if you're making a quilt, you need to quilt 3 inches and not more than that, not 6 inches, because you won't get the same texture. But it's just, I tell you what's interesting about wool as well, which you don't get with the cotton, is that this is actually mildew resistant. Naturally mildew resistant, and it's also resistant to moth damage when quilted with cotton fabrics. But it's not just like, it's not like using a wool blanket. It is specially made so that the fibres don't migrate, because what you don't want when you quilt with it, you don't want the fibres of the wadding moving up through your quilt. So it isn't just like using a wool blanket, it is specially made so that the fibres will stay in. But I just think that this is a real treat. If you're making a quilt that you've spent a lot of time on and you want it to be very natural and you want it to be really warm and soft and squishy, then wool wadding, wool batting as they call it, is perfect. But remember, you don't have to use this for quilts. You can use it for all sorts of things. So I always keep wadding around. I probably don't use, you know, the more expensive wool. I'd probably use the polyester, but I use it for cushions, bags, adding a little bit of extra wadding maybe to a cosmetic bag, or maybe I've made a duffel bag and you just got a circular base, perfect for that. So it's always nice to have different sorts of wadding, but it's worth having because you've spent a lot of time on your quilt wadding. So I'm going to put that on the floor so I can move on to the other wadding. So the next wadding I'm going to do is the cotton wadding. Now, this is cotton wadding. I love cotton wadding, and this is what I use mostly in my quilts, although I am actually really keen to use the wool wadding. This is available in 3 different sizes. So Queen is the little one. Is Queen the smallest one? Yeah, Queen is the middle one. Oh, so the small one has already sold out. So Queen is £32.99. That is 228 by 274, which is 90 by 108 inches. So the smaller one that we do has already sold out. So that's going. And then we also do it in the King's, is this King size? King, 120 by 120 inches. We also do it in that size. But the 2 waddings, so do look at the website, check the size, see what size you need. And make sure you go quite big, because you do need to have extra around the edge. And also, I always buy a big size because then I use the extras that I've left over for other things. Now, the beauty of this cotton wadding is obviously it's cotton. Cotton is perfectly natural, it's lovely, but it's a mix. It's mixed with, it's 80% cotton, 20% polyester. And the beauty of that is the polyester gives it a little bit more strength, but also it means that you can wash it. It makes it strong and much harder wearing. It will last for longer. So it's specifically made that it is blended of the two, because that's the perfect combination. What I love about this, because I used this in the quilt that I've made recently, and I quilted the whole thing, because it does say don't wash it beforehand. I quilted the whole thing, did it all, I did lots of sort of free motion quilting and straight quilting over it. It was a really big 2-metre quilt. And then I followed the instructions exactly, and I washed it in my washing machine in cold water. Didn't even know my washing machine had a cold water setting. But you wash it in cold water, and then when you bring it out, and it was quite dry when I brought it out. I just hung it on the line for an hour. So it shrinks just very, very slightly. I think it's only about 3%, but just enough so that the quilting shrinks a little bit, and it gives it a real sort of heirloom antique quality to it. It's beautiful to quilt with because it's needled, so you're not going to get any fibres migrating. It does go through it really well, and if you quilt very densely, then you'll get a nice flat finish. But if you quilt more openly, then you get a really nice sort of squishy finish. But it is beautiful. It doesn't add masses of weight to your quilt, but makes it lovely. So this is the one that I've used the most. It's really nice, but I am quite tempted to use the wool. This is the one we use the most of. But it is, I mean, it's a Hobbs. It is a really good make, and I would say to you, don't waste the time that you've spent on whatever project you're making, whether it's a quilt, whether it's a cot quilt, a king size quilt, on something inferior, either on the backing or the wadding, because it will ruin it. And follow the instructions. You can pre-shrink it if you want. If you don't want that sort of slightly puckered heirloom finish, you can pre-shrink it, and all the instructions tell you. But do wash it in cold water, because it worked a treat. It's really nice. So that's the 2. And then we're going to move on to the polyester. Now, again, you know, there are all different waddings for different things. If you want to use a polyester wadding, this is a really good quality one. I tend to keep my polyester wadding for using for homeware makes, but it is really, really soft. It's more affordable than the cotton wadding, I mean, you know, it works just as well. You will get that lovely quilted puffy look. So this is the biggest one, the king size, the one I'm holding up now. That's $29.99, and the size of that is a 3 metre square. So perfect for a quilt. You know, it isn't a low quality, it's just a different fibre content. You will probably get a slightly puffier finish than you would with a cotton wadding, and it washes, which is really useful. So completely machine washable, you don't have to do the cold wash, and it really is very soft. There are sometimes when you buy wadding by the metre, like the 2 ounce wadding isn't the same quality, that maybe that's the sort of wadding that you might be using in bags and stuff. This is better quality than that. It is really soft, but a bit like, you know, when you used to buy polyester pillows and they were rubbish, but now you buy polyester pillows and they feel like feathers, but it is very strong. And particularly if, say, you're making children's quilts or play mats or picnic blankets or something that's going to go outdoors, it's much easier and quicker to chuck it in the washing machine. So we do the king size and then the queen size. Sorry, Hannah, I missed your message. Oh, Sandra's heard the word loft. Loft is the sort of the thickness, that's like the depth of it, but it's more to do, I mean, that's what it means, but it's more to do with how puffy. That's the sort of the more descriptive words is how puffy it is. So a high loft is quite a puffy, thick squidginess. And so the polyester and the wool have a whole high loft, so they're puffier and squidgier. They should call it that, squidginess. So it's how sort of soft and squidgy it is. And that means high loft. And a low loft, like the cotton, means it's flatter and more compact. So that's the queen size. So they always call them batting, don't they? Batting is just the American term for wadding. So don't think, oh, I don't know what that is, don't know what batting is. A lot of books, and now, I mean, to be honest, it's because there's so much quilting, well, we have a lot of quilting books that come from the States, but a lot of even UK quilters now will call it batting. But wadding and batting are exactly the same thing. So this is the queen size. And then we've also got the crib size. And the crib size is 45 by 60 inches or 114 by 152. So this is the one that if you're making a cot quilt, obviously, but also say you're making some cushions or you're wanting to pad some bags or maybe some chair seat covers and you want to add an extra layer of wadding to them, this is the one to use because this will go quite a long way. So say you're making some chair seat covers, sometimes it's nice to just wrap a bit of wadding. Maybe you've got like a dressmaker's dummy and you want to adjust it. You know, one of the adjuster forms. Maybe you want to adjust it and make it fit yourself. This is the wadding to use. I mean, you can use the cotton or the polyester, but this is ideal. So you can, if you buy one of the adjuster form dressmaking dummies, then you adjust it to fit you, but then to make it exactly your shape with all the right little bits of padding, this is ideal to use. But I always have a bit of the polyester wadding at home that I can use. If I was making a play mat, then I'd probably buy it specifically, but I have this at home for my home sewing, and then I have the cotton, I use the offcuts for other things as well. But things like placemats, it's ideal for, but it is a nice squidgy high loft one. So that's wadding, loads and loads and loads of wadding. So, and we've also got some great tools. Now here's the micro stitch, and I love this because I absolutely hate tacking or basting in American. Same thing, basting and tacking. I hate tacking. Some people say they hate cutting out. I don't mind cutting out, actually. I mean, it's a bit tedious, but I quite like the process of it. But I absolutely hate tacking because it's tedious. And when you make a quilt, you lay your backing fabric right side down, you put your wadding on top, smooth it all out so it's nice and lovely. Oh, just one thing I wanted to mention. When you open, particularly the cotton wadding, you've got to open it all up and it's all folded and folded and folded and rolled, and you get lots of lumps and bumps and creases that you think you'll never get out, and it needs to be nice and flat. Is just run a hairdryer over it. Don't scrub, be really careful. Just run a hairdryer over it to warm it up very slightly, and then leave it, and those creases and folds will disappear. Just needed to tell you that because I learned that recently and it was an absolute wonderful tip. So this is brilliant, the micro stitch tool. So you put your backing fabric right sides down, your wadding on top, nice and flat, then your quilt top on top, and then you need to tack it together. And you can do that with by sewing it, but you use one of these, and this is like, you know those little tags they put to put labels on dresses in the shops? It works in exactly the same way, but the tags are tiny, 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 so you can actually stitch over them. And then you just push the tool through the fabric, and then you've got loads of these little tags, and you just do it all over the thing, and then it's very, very quickly and easily all joined together. And when you finish quilting, you just cut them all off. So I love this thing. But if you want to do something a little bit more traditional and you still don't want to do the tacking, but you can use these curved safety pins. These are fab, but they're not open. Oh, okay. So where's... Okay. I'm just going to go and get back the open ones because you need to see them. Right. So they're great. They're like nappy pins, but they're not for nappies. Well, yeah, I mean, that's 150, but you know what? If you were doing a massive quilt, you would. So the reason these are for quilting is because, see, they're curved. So when you've got your fabric, your 3 layers, flat, flat, flat on the table or on the floor, and you want to get the safety pin through them, you can easily... I'm there. I can't find myself. There I am. Right. So it's much easier that you can go, because they're flat, you can go through and out because of the curve without having to lift the fabric. And then you just pin them. And that means you don't have to do any tacking. Obviously, you can't sew over these. So when you do, try and make sure you pin in a place you're not going to be then quilting. But these are perfect for that. But also, I tell you what they are good for, is if you're using them to thread maybe elastic or ribbon through a casing, because they've got that bit of bend through them, they're much easier to get through. Maybe you're sewing a casing that goes across a seam. They're perfect for that. I'll put them back in there. Oh yeah, for my demo. Finally, these look like hair clips, which they probably are, but they're not, they're binding clips. These are perfect to open them out. So these are perfect for attaching binding in place while you're stitching. So they actually look like, they do look a bit like hair clips. Okay. Can I open these up? Right, we're going to talk about binding now. Binding, because I've only got 14 minutes. So, I wanted to show you, because we're into New Year, new technique. So this is different. The binding that that Rebecca showed us earlier was bias binding that was made with a bias binding maker. This is about quilt binding. Now, so this is straight binding, and the reason it doesn't need to be curved is because this is my mini quilt. I'll put it on the mat. So this is a very small version of a big quilt, but the principle is the same. It is straight. It's cut across the straight of the fabric, not on the bias like the one that Rebecca showed earlier, because we're binding straight edges, so it can be straight. So on the back, you've got the backing, and Hannah wrote her name on it earlier when we were practicing the pens. That's why it's got Hannah's name on the back. And then we've got the wadding in between. I've used a cotton wadding in there so you can see, and in fact I was the Hobbs heirloom because that's what I have at home, and it's so you can see that it's quite a low loft, and then just a fabric. So I just made myself a mini quilt so I can show you. Now when I bind a quilt, I like to use a double fold binding, because it gives it a stronger edge, and it just means that your quilt will be more durable, because if you've just got a single layer of fabric and it's going around the edge of something, it is more likely to wear away. I mean, but you find that with lots of things, don't you? Pieces of clothing, that if you've got an edge bound, that's always what will wear away before anything else. So I always use a double fold. Now the maths behind this is, whatever your seam allowance is, you need to cut your binding 8 times as big. Does that sound like really odd, doesn't it? But it is that. So the I'm using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, which means that my binding will end up looking, look, if I fold that over, will end up looking a 1/4 of an inch thick. But this piece of binding, I've got one here, is going to be folded in half. So this piece of binding is 2 inches wide. Well, it's 2 1/4 because I did a little bit extra. I'll tell you in a minute why. And what you're going to do is fold it in half and use it as a double. So now it's 1 inch wide, and your binding always needs to be 4 times the width of your, because you've got a 1/4 of an inch that way, and then a 1/4 of an inch that way, and then the rest going over. So you need to cut it 8 times as wide. So if you want 1/2 inch binding, it needs to be 4 inches wide. If you want 1/4 of an inch binding, it needs to be 2 inches wide. So the first thing you need to do, I'm going to show you, this is very basic if you've never done binding before. It's very hard to ever cut a piece of binding that is long enough to go around your quilt. You nearly always need to, even with that little mat, you nearly always have to join. Now, join your fabric on the diagonal. If you look very closely at my binding here, you can see my join is on the diagonal. There's the join, it's on the diagonal. Yes, on my new starter set. And the reason for that is, by having it on the diagonal, it reduces the fabric bulk because it moves it across. It's not just coming straight over. Also, when you then wrap the binding round, I think it just looks a bit neater to have a diagonal line, less obvious. And sometimes if you're using a print fabric like this and you're not matching the print, it's less obvious when it's on a diagonal. So in order to join on a diagonal, you cut all your strips, place one that way, and get the other one and place it at right angles that way. Okay? And then just pin it. We're going to join it on the diagonal, so just pin it at the top and the bottom. Make sure those points match. Ooh. And then you just need to find a ruler, which I've got here. Okay. And use it, it doesn't really matter. I'm using a friction pen here, but you can use anything because you're only going to, this is your sewing line. Draw along there. And then sew along that drawn line. Right, then we'll just unpin that. Then what you do is cut outside this. I usually leave quite a small, maybe 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, because the less bulk you've got in here, the better. And then take my pressing mat, and then we'll just, oh, that's still plugged in, yeah. It doesn't, you mean it doesn't really matter. If you really want to reduce bulk, press the seam open. I've really trimmed my seam allowance, so it's not so bad. And then when you turn it right sides out now, you've got a really nice diagonal join. There we go. So that's the very basics of binding, is how to join. And then you join all of your strips like that. The next thing you need to do, because we're going to do a double fold binding, is fold it in half wrong sides together. Okay? Because this is going to be on the outside. So it's wrong sides together. And the reason you're doing this is to make it, you don't have to do double fold, you can do just single, but it just adds a bit of extra strength. So if you're binding something that won't have lots of use, you don't need to use this. Or if you're doing something that's a very fine quilt and you don't want the extra bulk, or maybe you're doing a wall hanging, but if for most quilts, I would say, I know it uses more fabric, but I would say a double fold is really good. And what you can do as well by joining these is you can use all the bits of leftover fabric from your quilt and join lots and lots of different colours that are all the colours in the quilt, and then your binding will match your quilt beautifully. It's called scrappy binding when you have lots of different colours and prints joined together, but they look really nice around the edge of the quilt, and it's a really good way of using up fabric. So all of your binding, you need to do that too. Okay, now you get your quilt sandwich, which I've done earlier. So this is my quilt sandwich using the cotton wadding inside. So you've got the backing, so imagine this is massive. You've got the cotton wadding inside, and then you've got the top fabric. Now I usually like to start about halfway down one side. So I've started there, but I sew a bit further. Now I've sewn this because you need this extra flappy bit for joining in a bit, so we'll just leave that. You sew it then with a 1/4 inch seam allowance all round. Now I've gone round 3 corners, and I'm going to show you how to mitre a corner, because when you've sewn it, what you end up with is this really lovely mitered finish. Can you see that? Nice little diagonal finish. Now the way to do that is really, really simple. So with your double fold binding, just match the raw edges, so it's just like that, and sew it with a 1/4 inch or whatever your seam allowance is. And then you do the same thing on every corner. I've just done all of them so I can show you the last one. When you get to the corner, okay, actually I need to show you this one because I've done that one already. Forgotten. When you get to the end, I don't know whether you're going to be able to see this. Before you get to the end, stop a 1/4 inch before you get to the end. And I always mark this with a pen because it's harder to measure. Stop 1/4 inch before the end, and then sew diagonally into the corner. So I don't know how well you can see that, so I'm going to draw on top of it. Can you see that now? Right? So there's the corner. So stop 1/4 inch before the end and sew diagonally into the corner. Then what you do is come out from your sewing machine now, come to your ironing board, and you fold it that way, like that. So it's right straight, making sure that it's straight up there. Okay? Then I tend to put, this is to make sure it absolutely stays in place. I put a pin there just to make it stay. Now bring it back down so that lines up there, and this is straight down there, and so you've got nice edges, and give that a press and pin it into place. Now you can move that pin. You won't stitch into it, but if you want to move it just in case you're not sure, and then you pin it all the way round to the end, to the bottom. And I tend to mark this because otherwise you get to the end and you can't really remember where the 1/4 inch is. I mean, for a 1/4 inch you can judge it by eye, but I tend to just mark the bottom corner in. Now if you want to be absolutely certain, take your tape measure and measure whatever the seam allowance is. So if you're using 1/4 inch, measure 1/4 inch in and 1/4 inch out. That's why these friction pens are brilliant, because anything you're marking will just press out, and then just draw a line. So I'll take this back under the sewing machine. So when you sew it on this corner that you've done, start right at the top. You haven't got to look to see what's going on underneath. Just start it right at the top and use well, I'm using the 1/4 inch seam allowance, so you need to do a little reverse stitch at the beginning. You just sew it into place all the way down. And then when you get down to the bottom point that you've marked, go a bit slowly and leave the needle in the top of that mark. Lift the foot, pivot round, put the foot back down and sew into that corner and just a little reverse stitch. Right, so now I'll show you. Oh, I should have actually, yeah. So now we've got to this end, you can see how this works. We can fold that up, just like we've done last time. I mean, it is, obviously you've got to take it out from the machine, you've got to go to the ironing board, you've got to come back again, but oh, it is so worth it. And then you press it back and then you pin it into place. And then then you sew back down. You just do it all the way around. So let me just show you what this looks like. What happens then, you join it at the other end, then you fold this round to the back, and then it overlaps the back, really covering up very well that line of stitching. So you can fold it so it just comes over. And then this is where the clips come in really handy, because you want to sew it from the right side, but you want to clip it. So otherwise, because you can't pin from one side and then pin from the other. So those clips are ideal for that. Then you sew it along the line, you sew in the ditch. So you sew from the right side in here. And now look at that corner. You've got that really sharp mitered corner. I mean, something like this, if you were maybe binding the edge of a table mat, it's perfect because you get a really nice finish. And if you make sure you sew right in the seam, you won't even see that stitching. And it also gives the binding a slightly sort of more texture, puffy, squishy look because of the of sewing in there. But isn't that a really simple way to just get a nice mitered corner? There we go. That is quilt mitering for you. So next we're going to learn about piping. So we've got Rebecca back, who's going to show us how to make this beautiful bolster cushion that's from a lovely book that we've got for you as well. So she said she's going to give us a real masterclass on piping. So I will see you all back here in a couple of minutes.
New Year's are always about trying new things, so why not try out a new hobby? From the 4th to the 10th of January, Sewing Street will be bringing you a week packed with demonstrations on new techniques, beginners tutorials and brand new projects. With everything from ribbon art, making your own sleepwear, new quilting techniques and beginners homeware makes. We have something for everyone. Sign up to our email newsletter and follow us on social media to find out what's on when. And watch our New Year, New Hobby shows from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Monday the 4th to Sunday the 10th of January on Freeview 72, Sky 670, our YouTube channel or Facebook Live.
Hello everyone, I'm Delphine Brooks. It's so great to be here and part of the Sewing Street family. I'm local, I'm only down the road in Warwickshire. I started sewing many years ago when I was very young, doing lots of art and painting, and eventually I went into textiles and I really enjoyed doing the two together. I then had a bit of a break. Something you don't know about me maybe is that I spent many years in the Royal Air Force and eventually in the police as well. And then I went full circle and I've come back to my happy place of sewing, and which I really enjoy. My best sewing tip is measure twice and cut once. I have chipped up a couple of times by not measuring properly, and I do always regret it. So now I always measure twice, cut once. Anyway, I really hope to be with you again soon, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.
If you'd like to get in touch with us during our live show and send in any messages or any questions, then you can do it on studio@sewingstreet.com. Alternatively, you can message us on our official Facebook page.
Stuck for ideas for the perfect gift? Why not get them a gift card? You can buy Sewing Street and Yarn Lane gift cards loaded up with anything from £10 to £500. Shop our gift cards online at www.sewingstreet.com or www.yarnlane.com, or purchase them via our UK call centre on 0800 001 44 33.
Hello, I'm Jane Greenoff and I'm stood in the barn here at Pink's Barn in Gloucestershire, England, which is where I live with my husband, and I stitch. I think I stitch in my sleep. I've certainly been stitching for over 30 years now, and by stitching I'm talking about counted cross stitch or counted embroidery in general terms. I also collect old samplers, and I've got one to show you here. Now, this smashing, it was actually stitched in 1796 by a little girl of 8 or 9, and it's absolutely charming. So I collect antiques, I love to draw and create antiques for the future, and look forward to seeing you all on Sewing Street sometime in the future.
And welcome back to Sewing Street. So, I've learned so much today already, and we are going to learn. We have a real masterclass in piping now. But this hour is all about this beautiful, let me show you, bolster cushion that Rebecca has made us from this book. So we're going to have a look through the book in a minute, but we've got 3 different fabric bundles to make this bolster cushion as well. So the piping, what I like about piping is it's a very small detail, but it's just something that gives a real professional finish. So if you look on here, there's piping between the main and the rounded ends. There's piping along this central panel and then at the end as well. And it just is, when you see cushions or pieces of upholstered soft furnishing type things like covers for chair seats and cushions, you often see piping in the seams, and it does give it just a very finished, defined edge. So it's really useful because it's something that people go, oh, I can't do that, it's really difficult, but Rebecca's going to show us how today. So this cushion comes from the book Love to Sew. Brilliant book. There is so much in this book. I mean, I really like the project on the front cover of it. It's great. It's lovely, the apples. There's so much. So this 60 stunning accessories to make for you and your home. So you get 60 projects for £10.99. That's an absolute bargain, isn't it? So at the beginning you've got techniques that talk about embroidery stitches, applique. You've got all the things like how to do bias binding, quilting techniques. So all the information that you need to know about things like turning out corners and top stitching, all the different, because there's lots of projects in here that have embroidery stitches. And oh, interesting. Yes, so I hadn't realised. So this is by Search Press, and the book includes lots of projects from all different books that they have done. So they're kind of Search Press's best-selling projects from other books. This is a really nice amalgamation of really popular things. So there's English paper piecing in here. There's things about inserting a zip, piping with and without cord, with and without cord. But there's some really lovely projects in here. So you've got simple things like makeup pouches, fabric basket. I like that. Lots and lots of inspiration, because these are really small things. So these are the sort of projects that you can make from your fabric stash, just things that you've already got, like the floral hearts, they're tiny, or pencil case. There's also, it's a really good way of learning and teaching yourself new techniques and skills. So if you haven't put in a zip before, start with a pencil case. If you haven't done felt applique before, there's just a little pin cushion. I love the Sea Breeze tote bag. That's using that really beautiful batik fabric. But again, it's small strips of fabric. Really good stash busting project. Little purse. So if you haven't used bag hardware before, it is a really good way of learning things without committing to too much fabric. A pocket mug rug. I love these box bags. This is a really clever way of making a really nice sort of chunky thing, often used for wash bags. Got a bit of embroidery here, so if you haven't tried embroidery before or used hoop art. Fabric caddy. I love the cutlery roll. That's very posh, isn't it? Perfect for your picnic. Looks lovely. I love the sort of the ticking fabric that they've used there. Wall tidy. Look, they've got bias binding around it. Bag. I mean, there's so much in here. For £10.99, there really is. There are a lot of projects in here. There's very, very good value for money. Bag. So there's the one that's on the front cover. Really like, so even machine embroidery that's on there as well. Anyway, the project that we're doing is the bolster cushion, which is on, I've got to find it. There we go, the bolster pillow. So in the back, in the book, are the templates as well, for the projects that you need them for, but they're all in here. So it's all in there, I mean, everything you need. So this is the one we're going to do, the bolster pillow. This is really pretty because you've got like a feature fabric down the front panel. Then you've got a contrast fabric and another fabric on the back, and then one for binding as well. So that's why in each of the bundles there are 3 fabrics. So the cushion that Rebecca has made us here is using this bundle of fabrics. So in the bundle you get half a metre of the print fabric that you use for the centre. Shall I open it out? It's really nice fabric. Really pretty. Marisol. It's a lovely mixture of green ferns and blue leaves with a nice sort of creamy background. It's very pretty. So we can't, this fabric, you can't buy by the half metre because it's all in these kits at the moment. But I imagine, is the leftover fabric of this?
Yeah, you can make 2.
Wow, from all of them?
Yeah.
So you could actually make, from the kit, Rebecca said, you can actually make 2 bolster pillows. 2! That's amazing, isn't it? So you've got half a metre of that one. You've got half a metre of the cream, but it's not just a plain cream, it's a slightly mottled cream, and that's used for either end. Yeah, you really can make 2 of these, can't you? It's a lot of fabric there. That's nice though, isn't it? Because I think if I was making them for my bed or my sofa, I'd want one either end anyway. And then you get a metre of the lightweight denim, which is quite a lot. Shall I open it out for you? Because it's a really big piece. So you get a metre of this lovely denim. But actually, what's lovely about this is there's quite a lot of fabric here. But the great thing is that because there were so many projects in this book, really lovely ones, bags and purses and cushions and all sorts of things, you've got plenty of fabric that you can use to then make matching items as well. Also, you have 2 metres, 2 1 metre pieces of piping cord that is used obviously for all the piping around the cushion, which we'll have a look at in a minute. So that's is that one got a name? The Marisol Leaf Bolster. So that's $22.99 for all the fabric you need to make that and more. Right, the next bundle is the one that Rebecca is going to be working with, so you'll see her using this one. So you get, this is Liberty. Is this Liberty? Wow. Regent Rose. So this is really pretty. Half a metre of that. That's so pretty, isn't it? It's real sort of vintage classic roses. I really like that. That is going in the centre of the bolster. A half a metre of that. And again, remember, there is enough to make 2 of these bolster pillows, and you will have fabric left over as well. That's for I mean, you can use them in whatever combination, but I would use those in the centre because that's really pretty. And luckily, that is what Rebecca has. When I go, oh, I'd use them somewhere else. No, she's done that too. I was just having a look to check. You've got half a metre of this floral print fabric. It's really lovely. It's a lovely quality, but doesn't it go really well with the roses? A very, very same tone of pink. That's used on the edges of the cushion. I know, that's very good, isn't it? For when particularly, that's a Rose and Hubble fabric, which is lovely quality. You've got a Liberty fabric, and then the colour that's used on the end is this lovely bright pink. It's a real mottled colour, but what's lovely is that pink picks up the pink that's in the roses. So the 3 fabrics really blend well together. So it depends on what effect you want. This is very sort of very pretty pink, maybe bedroom, spare bedroom. And also remember, you've got quite a lot left over. So if you want to make some matching items to go with it, and don't forget you get your 2 1 metre lengths, so 2 metres of piping cord with that. And then the final one, what's this one called? It's coming up, it's just coming up. Now, I remember when we first launched this fabric, I love this because it's got beautiful, it's a Riley Blake fabric, and it's charcoal with white etchings on it, but it's got some really lovely features. And obviously this is you'd use as the central panel of the bolster cushion, but you can cut it where you want it. So it's got lovely like twine with scissors in it and words, vintage love, antique friend, a day like this, rose lemonade. So this is perfect because you're going to use this for the center panel of the bolster cushion. It's very classic. This would fit in any interior. I mean, I know this is quite garden. You've got like dried herbs hanging down, or it's very kitchen, isn't it? But it's just a lovely, I love that graphic, white graphic look on the grey background. Then you've got to give it a little bit of brightness, give it a bit of oomph. You get this vibrant pink spot, but they go so well together, don't they? See, I really like that. Okay. So if you're on the website, if you want to order any of the bundles, oh, Maureen has just messaged in. If you go onto the website, Maureen, and you scroll down from Watch Live, it's underneath there. You can order it from there. Okay. So on the side of this one, you've got this really bright pink spot, which is a really nice, really sort of splash of just bright fabric in it. And then for the fabric that's used on the edges, you've got a metre of this like dark charcoal grey. With it's all speckled as well, and obviously you've got the piping cord as well. So it all depends on, well, what room in the house you're going to put your bolster cushions, because remember you can make 2, but remember there is extra fabric as well, so you can use it to make matching items. And then you've got the 2 1 metre pieces of piping cord. So those are all the bundles. So Rebecca, where do we start? Where did we start with this?
Yeah, well, like you said, choose in what order you want your fabric to go. I mean, I think the bundles, they kind of tell you where they want to go, I think, really, don't they? So, like you said, I've chosen the lovely roses for the centre, for my centrepiece. And then I decided that I would have the pink flowers going next.
Okay, yes, so the pink flowers at the top and the bottom.
And then the pink going around the sides. That's how I decided.
Okay.
That I thought, but obviously you can do whatever.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it just sort of
want.
Feels that the feature print should be
there.
there,
I think.
it?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's that I think that one definitely needs to be the main attraction. I would say. So yeah. So what I've done first of all, I've piped these 2 edges here.
Right, and that's the bit that goes all the way around.
That's the bit that goes all the way around there.
Right.
And then I've got another lot of piping to do, so I'm going to show you how to do that.
I did promise them piping masterclass.
So again, like we said in the first hour, so you're cutting on the bias across your grain of your fabric, because you want it to be with a bit of a give in it.
So why do you need give in the piping then?
Because again, you can go around a corner, edging. You can do the edge of a top or something like that, and it just gives you that flexibility. If it was on the straight, it wouldn't sit properly. It wouldn't mould round properly. It just makes it a bit easier, but it's just a lot more flexible.
Okay.
You'll be able to do it.
So it's useful to know, because you probably found that out and realised that it works better to do that.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the things you get, because I've studied at college, it's one of the things you get taught. But obviously, if you're just picking it up at home, you wouldn't know those things.
No, so that's really useful. So it does make a difference.
It definitely does. So once you've done that, and I have stitched my 2 together. So again, I've done like we said in the first. Put them across like that, stitched down there, so that when you come to lay it out, you've got one continuous long straight run.
So did you cut out this centre bit and then use what was left over?
I cut all the pieces out first, and then decided, because as you can see on that one, I used different fabric for the different piping. That you don't have to do that. You can use the same all the way through. But I just decided to use, different. Like I have in this. So this one I've used the pink.
Yeah.
And then I thought between this fabric and the pink, I would use the floral.
Okay, yeah, nice.
But again, it's completely up to you how you want to do it. So once you've got your fabric, you sandwich your piping in between the two, and make sure that it's right up against that folded edge. Now you either have you need a piping foot, or you can use a zipper foot.
Right.
So it depends. I've got a zipper foot on here.
So why do you need a different foot?
If you've got your normal foot, so there's your normal foot there. If you've got your normal foot, when you come to sew, because what you want to do is sew right next to the piping there to encase it, so it gives you that lovely edge around there.
Yeah, it's because it is almost like an outline, isn't it?
Yes.
That's what this looks like.
Yeah. So if you've got your normal foot on and you put it up against the piping, it's going to do it too far away.
Right.
You're not going to be able to butt right up against it. That's why you need a zipper foot or a piping foot to use it. Right. So I'm just going to position this in. So like I said, get right up against your piping.
Is there a difference between a zipper foot and a piping foot?
Do you know, well, there probably is slightly. I always use a zipper foot at home, just because that's what I've got.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, a piping foot is designed to go.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't got a piping foot, so I don't know. I just wondered
right up against it.
Is it closer?
So a little bit fiddly, but once you've started, try and keep your two edges of your fabric together.
Right.
And you're actually, I mean, to be honest, the piping, the cord, the piping cord, is a guide really for the foot. So just go right up against it. And you can see it's starting to work. I mean, you can pin this if you don't feel confident enough to just do it like this.
Yeah, I guess, yes, or tack it if you're new to it, to just hold it together.
So so it's just a case of following it down, and it can't really go anywhere else. So I'm coming to my seam now, where I seamed them together. It should just glide over that. It shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, and I presume you probably barely see that seam once you've got just a narrow.
Yeah, because there's it's you're only seeing the piping. You're not seeing anything else. That's it, nearly there.
It does look very neat. So I guess it's worth spending the time to get this.
It is really,
right.
Yeah, it is. There you go. So that's that.
Okay.
The edge. So if I just cut.
So you've just got a nice piece of, just a strip of fabric with the cord encased inside.
Cut that off there.
How do you know how wide to cut? Does it tell you how wide to cut the piping strip?
No. I mean, the seam allowance is a foot's width, or around a centimetre. So I've just done it a foot's width, really.
Right.
So that I can.
Just to make it easy.
Butt up against it, and I know that I'm, I know I've got that. It's exactly right. So the next thing to do. So I've attached 2 of those already. So now the next stage is putting the next layer on. So
once you've made the piping cord, you sew them then.
You sew that on. If I do one side, and then I can get to this bit and show you how to do this bit. Yeah. So it looks a bit odd because your piping is facing inwards and your raw edges. But when you've sewn along here and turn it through, it's going to end up like that.
Okay. Yeah. So just make sure as long as all your raw edges are together, you're right.
That's
even though it looks wrong.
So I will put a couple of pins in here just to make sure. So now, obviously, you can't really see here. So again, you need your foot, because that will go right up against the piping, and it'll guide you.
Yes, you don't have to. I guess you don't need to concentrate on the seam allowances then, because you know that you just make sure that you're sewing right up to the edge of it.
Yeah, that's it. And you should, if done properly, you shouldn't see the stitching.
Oh, the first line of stitching that you did.
You shouldn't see that.
I suppose, are you sewing sort of right on top of it then?
Yeah, well, you're sewing right up against it. So the foot is, I mean, it can't go over really. The foot is right up against the piping cord in that channel.
So you're on top of the first line of stitching then.
So let's have a look, see whether I did it. So there we go, it's encased in. Can you see that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's lovely.
So that's encased. And when that, so it makes sense now.
Yes, so as long as your raw edges are matching, just ignore the fact
get all your raw edges together. And then now we can do this one. So again, we will place it, but the piping cord needs to be away from the raw edge. So raw edge to raw edge, and then you know you've got it right.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you know you've got it right. So again, you can pin it if you want to. I tend to just go with it.
Yeah, so this time you're not encasing it in another layer.
No, all I'm doing is attaching it to the fabric.
Okay.
So that's all I'm doing. So you can keep lifting up and checking that you're hitting the right mark. So that's why if you do your piping, the sort of the right amount, the seam allowance, then you know that you can put those raw edges together.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you make sure, have a look and see what the seam allowance is. What does it say in here?
I think it's is it no, a bit more than a centimetre, is it?
Well, I'm presuming it doesn't say here.
It says otherwise, unless it's stated otherwise. I think.
Is it one of those right at the very beginning of the book? It tells you what the seam allowances are. Okay, so as long as you do that way, then it will all match up nicely.
So that's the edge on that side.
Okay,
on that one.
so that's now that is. Oh,
so this is your centre.
Yes.
That's your the
creamy bit.
Yeah.
And then you've
then
just done the
pink.
piping for the end.
Yeah. So now we're going to add that pink piece.
Okay.
And again, we're going to do exactly the same. So matching up, raw edge to raw edge.
So Rachel, who's just messaged in, this is the Liberty bundle that Rebecca's using at the moment. So when you have a look on the website to choose the one that Rebecca's doing is called Liberty Bolster Pillow.
So pretty.
With the green dot on the photo. Oh, so you sewed the binding on and then you sew the other layer of fabric on. Right.
Yes.
Right,
do it all on the flat.
Yes.
So get everything done.
Okay.
The only thing that you can't do is the channel for the cord to go through to pull it up at the end.
Right.
That you have to do once it's all.
Okay. That's quite nice, isn't it? Then it's all sort of made as one big piece
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, I think it's a good little project for anybody really. I think, you know.
Well, it's teaching you a few things as well, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
you know, on something as small as this, you can really, you know, if you can really practice the piping.
Yeah.
If you get it wrong, you can undo it. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter
because
too
all
much.
you're doing is straight lines.
Yeah. So you're not trying to pipe round a curve or.
That's it.
They've got a caravan toaster cover in this book.
Oh, really?
It's just the best thing, isn't it?
Got some lovely projects, actually.
I always wanted my toaster to look like a caravan. That's just the best thing. I love that. Page 100.
Oh.
I thought maybe it was a sewing machine cover.
But it's... I love it.
Love it.
Love it. Right, so there you go. So that's your two lots of pipings set in.
Perfect.
So if I know obviously you do this. I don't know how much time we've got. I don't know if
We've
I've
got
got
about
time.
15 minutes.
Oh, so shall I show you?
Yes.
So imagine you've done the other. Imagine you've got the other.
You've got the other. So you just sort of work from the centre outwards.
Yeah. So imagine you've got that done. So now the way I like to sew, because obviously you've now got to sew across your
how
piping.
do you do that? Because I'm never really that sure.
No. What I like to do is if you get your pin and where are we? Try and put it into the channel that you've sewn on. So the stitch line.
Yeah, so on the sewing.
Yeah, and get it in the stitch line on the other side, like that. So you're right up against.
Okay.
Your right up against the piping cord.
Yeah.
And then the other side. Do that again on the other side, right up against your piping cord.
So does it matter which way your piping is facing?
No.
Just
no, you
long
can
as it's
do.
the same
Yeah,
way.
yeah, you can do. And obviously, you know, if you want to tidy up these edges with an overlocker or an edging on your, because you know, you'd probably want to take it off and wash it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So and in that one I've overlocked on the inside.
Oh, okay.
But you could use a zigzag or.
Oh yes, it's very neat. Just having a look. Very neatly overlocked on the inside.
So yeah, so I'm just going to do that again. So hopefully. they stay together when I sew round down.
So do you have to, you pin it together on the seam, but do you pin the sort of the piping down to make, is that what the other
Yeah,
pin
so
is for?
I'm holding it in place.
Right, okay.
So, and if I put my pins in this way, when I go under the machine will travel straight over them.
Lovely.
So I know that my piping is exactly where I want it to be.
Yeah, because I would worry that mine would start, one would go one way and one would go the other.
Yeah.
But by doing it like that, that's a good tip.
Yeah, well that's the theory, and it does usually work. You can guarantee now it probably won't, can't you?
No, I'm sure it will be fine.
I'm talking about it. But yeah, so that's what I do anyway to try and keep them in alignment. So if we sew down here, now I'm going to change my foot back to the
so we're not normal
to the normal foot. Yeah, you only need that when you're dealing with the piping. There we go. So.
Okay.
So the machine might groan a bit going over this, so just take it slowly.
Okay.
And then you going over it. So I've successfully gone over those pins, which is what's supposed to happen.
Oh, I had great faith.
So just go slow as you're going over them, because it is bulky. It is a lot. There we go. Right, moment of truth. So take your pins out. Turn it through, and hopefully
it'll all match.
You'll.
Oh.
Can you see?
Yes, that's beautiful. Look at that.
Over that way. There we go. That way.
That's beautiful match. Well done.
So
well, that's a really.
It does work. It does work.
It's worth the double pinning.
Yeah, it is. It is. So give that a little press. And I'll just show you. So that's a neatened edge, hopefully.
Oh, okay. So do you have to neat? Oh, yes, because it doesn't turn twice, does it?
I've neatened it, but I mean, you could do a little hem. There's my tape measures in the way, so you could do a little turning like that,
right,
and then turn again.
Okay. Oh, so this is what you mean by this is your sort of your curved bit.
Yeah. So all you're doing is making a casing for the drawstring to go through. So I've made it out of some of the leftover fabric.
Oh, okay.
Because there was plenty.
That's quite nice, though. I like that on this one. You've got.
So you can decide which one.
Okay, so how did you? Yeah.
You want to do.
And how did you do that?
I cut out. It was about an inch? No, it wasn't. Yes, about an inch wide strip.
Because it's really nice. I think that gives it a better finish than using cord.
Of fabric.
Right.
And I placed it. So imagine that's
an inch wide.
Yeah. And I placed it on my foot at home is a little bit thinner on this side, so I placed it. It's about 1/4 of an inch,
right?
Maybe just over 1/4 of an inch, and went all the way down, and then turned it through. Now I've got one of these jazzy little.
I was going to say how, because that's really narrow. Yeah. How did you turn that through?
Well, I've got. It looks like a big sort of crochet. And it's long, and it's got like a crocheted point on the end, and pulled it through.
Yes.
But you could make it a bit wider and use a small safety pin to pull it through. Or the other thing that you could do is if you stitch in a thread at the end.
Okay.
A long thread at one end, and then you can use that to pull it through.
Okay.
So there are different.
I've never tried the safety pin method.
Ways of doing it. Yeah, if you've got a thin enough safety pin, you just attach it.
I've done it with the thread.
Yeah.
That's what I tend to do, but I've not done it with the safety pin. That's a good idea. We do sell point turners, but I haven't used those. Not point turners, but then turning tools.
Yes, yeah. Well, this is what I'm talking about. I'm explaining it very badly.
But these are like a tube with a stick in. They're different to the thing with the hook on the end.
Okay. Right, so the thing to remember for this as well is to obviously leave a gap, because you need to be able to thread.
Yes, okay.
So, yeah, leave a gap. So you can decide where you want to leave your gap. So I'm going to leave mine here. As long as you've got a big enough gap for it to go through. And then just stitch all the way round. So I need a safety pin now to thread it through. I haven't got one.
Ah, well, you've got loads of curved safety pins on your table.
Oh, right. Well, let's try one of those if we've got time. They're great, those. I was watching you, because you could use those, not just for quilting, couldn't you?
Well, I thought they'd be ideal for going through, threading things through casing, because they've got that little curve to them.
Yeah. Well,
I think they're very handy. You could take one home with you.
Oh.
No, don't tell anyone. No one's watching, it's fine.
Yeah, it's
Rebecca
all right.
puts a little few in her pocket.
It's not like we're on telly or anything,
No,
is it?
no one's watching. It's just me and you. So just put a couple in your pocket, and then you can see whether you like them.
See if I
Try
like them
before
or
you
not.
buy.
Right. Let's have a little. Oh yeah, these are perfect. These are perfect. That is a good size.
Right.
So
they're quite small, and I think
They
the
are.
curve, you see, because sometimes when you thread things through with a safety pin, they come undone, but maybe the curve would stop that happening.
Yeah.
Don't they?
So as you see, I've gone all the way round, left a little gap there so that I can thread. So I've made these, and I decided that I would make them out of the...
I really like that. I think it gives it a real sort of professional finish, doesn't it? It's a bit like on cushions, you know, when you get ties made from the same fabric. It always looks quite posh, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
But I think, because you've stuffed this with like soft toy stuffing, I suppose you can use a bolster, but this is brilliant for a carrier bag thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you threaded elastic through, this is like you could put elastic in one end, and then the other end you just, well, I suppose both ends have elastic, don't they?
That's a very good idea.
And then it's a carrier bag.
Yeah, a very fancy one.
Very fancy, and why not?
Yeah.
Why not have a very fancy carrier? Well, you can make two anyway, so you could have a bolster cushion and a carrier
and a
bag
carrier thing. Yeah, I wouldn't mind a couple of bolster cushions out of there. I do think this is a lovely combination.
It is really nice, isn't it? I really
is.
like that. Well, it's the Liberty as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, this is a lovely book. I've seen it before, but I'd never noticed the caravan toaster cover. What a wonderful thing.
Right, so now, do you know what I've done? I can't get through the seam allowance now. Come on. Ah, there we go, got it. There we are. So that was brilliant, that
so it works.
safety pin.
Right.
That was very
Top
good.
tip.
Yeah,
Curved
very
safety
good.
pins. Well, I did think they must be good. I've never tried them for that before, but it sounds like a good idea.
So obviously you stuff your bolster cushion with whatever.
Or a bolster, because you can buy bolster pads, can't you?
Yes, you
Excuse
can.
me.
You can. Let's just get those even, because I'm a little bit OCD. So I'm just getting those even, because I'm a little bit OCD about that sort of thing.
I know, but it's really annoying if they're not, isn't it?
Yes,
Because it will look rubbish.
So, yeah, and then you just...
and then you can either, like you say, stuff it. I mean, you've just put some polyester wadding in here, haven't you?
Yeah.
So it's
just, it makes a nice little, there you go.
It's very lovely.
It is.
Very
it's pretty,
smart,
isn't it?
Isn't it?
Very pretty.
Right, well, thank you so much,
That's
Rebecca.
all right. It's a pleasure.
Been great. It's been lovely to have you for your first time back.
I know. Thank you very much for having me.
I know, it's been really lovely.
Lovely to be back.
Well, you've taught us loads because, I mean, I know what an expert you are. So it's been really nice to have you pass some skills on.
Oh, well, I hope so. I hope
the things that you've learned over the years, you probably think, oh, yeah, you just do that. But, you know, you have to think there's so many of us who've never tried it before.
Yeah. Well, I can think back to when I first started doing things, and it is that sitting down at a machine and having a go for the first time. It's a bit daunting.
Yeah. But you've learned through all the mistakes and trials.
Well, you have to make mistakes, don't you? And I still make mistakes. After all these years, I still make mistakes. That's life, isn't it?
Well, it is, but there we go. You know, you have to know when to walk away and come back tomorrow.
Yes, yeah. Sometimes you do, don't you? Yeah. Walk away, give yourself a bit of time, and then go back to it.
And sometimes the inspiration strikes, doesn't it?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
That's all right, thank you.
And we will see you again soon,
yes,
hopefully.
hope so.
Thank
Bye.
you. Okay, so I'm just going to run through the book again, which The Love to Sew, 60 Stunning Accessories to Make for You and Your Home. Remember this, well, there were 60 great projects here. I'm going to start from the other end because I showed you at the beginning before, and then we missed all the lovely things at the end. So obviously there's all the templates. Baby playmat, applique stockings. There's a bit of Christmas glasses case. That's nice because it's got a frame in it. There's a real mixture of sort of size of difficulties. All of them have got level of difficulty in. So like the pumpkin pin cushions, there's only one. Stocking advent calendar. Start now. Be sure to finish for next Christmas. Vintage pin cushions. That's really pretty, isn't it? I love that, the triple layer cake of pin cushions, little egg coasters. So there really is, you know, if you're a beginner to sewing and you want some ideas and inspiration, this is great. But if you've been doing, you know, you've been sewing for a while, but you just want to make some unusual projects or things, or learn some slightly different techniques, you know, this one is lovely, a tablet case, which, you know, in itself is very simple, but it's got a really nice little bit of piping and a covered button there. So there's a lot of extra information. I love these. Look, little house tape measure covers, of course. That's really sweet, isn't it? Hot water bottle cover. There's no, you know, but then you got to something as big as the patchwork quilt. But actually, this is quite a simple one because it's all just big squares. But I love the way that they put a little button on each corner. Oh, there's the bolster pillow. And a caddy, table runner. And we've got to get through all the way to my favourite project. We're nearly there. Page. We're nearly there. Happy heart. That's really sweet. It's got little coins in it. Makeup bag. But you've got, like, this one is English paper piecing. So there's a lot of different techniques that the book covers as well. So that one's hand sewn. Whereas this one, the patchwork placemats, these are all machine applique. So it's a lovely one if you want to learn some new techniques and do some new projects and make some new things this year. This is a brilliant starting point. Really pretty little sewing box. That's lovely. I'm trying to think, well, but I can't even see what page you're on. We're nearly like the peg bag. Oh, that makes me think that one day the sun will shine again and the leaves will be green. That's really pretty, isn't it? Little button heart. That's lovely. If you collect buttons like I do, I always cut all the shirt buttons off before I get rid of the shirts. But we can't stop until we've done the caravan toaster cover, which is my favourite project. Isn't that the best thing? I love that. But you know, you could scale that up. It could be a caravan food mixer cover. It could be a caravan sewing machine cover. Could be all sorts of things, but it's just, you know, there's some really great ideas in here how to make the little things, and I like the way, because I've had a little look at it, it's all fully lined as well, and it has little windows. But isn't that a beautiful thing? The caravan toaster cover is my favourite. Anyway, if you want to make one of the bolster cushions, we've got 3 bundles. So the bundle that the sample that this one here is made out of is this bundle. You get 1/2 metre of the the Marisol floral green and blue fabric. You get 1/2 metre of this sort of mottled cream fabric that goes around the edges, and then you get a whole metre of this lovely denim that you use the edges. And then remember, there's enough fabric here to make 2 bolster covers or 1 bolster cushion and a carrier bag holder, and there is more left over as well that you can use for other matching projects. So say you wanted to make a bolster cushion, but you wanted to make a square cushion as well, there would be enough fabric to mix and match and make both things. Oh, we've got some lovely messages. Becky Alexander Froster's message saying it's lovely to see Rebecca. I know, I was so pleased to see her this morning, very excited, because she is so knowledgeable. Then we've also got the Liberty bundle. So on the website, the picture looks the same, but there is a block that says, a blob on it, that says the Liberty bundle. So you've got this beautiful floral, really beautiful, like antique roses. They're lovely with tiny rosebuds in amongst them, but really soft pinks, all in shades from very, very pale to very deep, but all soft ones. Very lovely. And I like the green. It's that real proper rosy, dark rose leaf green, but they've got a little bit of ochre and mustard in there, which is, you know, what happens to rose leaves. They often are all different colours. Then you've got 1/2 metre of this lovely, really complementary, it's a Rose and Hubble pink, which features roses, but in just one colour. And that blends beautifully with that one. And then you've got a whole metre of this mottled pink that you can use for the ends and some of the binding, but you can also use it for other projects. So of this bundle, this is our most popular at the moment. Once everybody is checked out, there will only be 2 left. So if you do have it in your basket, you need to check out, or somebody will pinch it. Pinch it. They'll take it out of your basket without you even knowing. Oh, and remember, both bundles have 2 metres of piping cord. That's what you need to make it. And the final bundle is this lovely Riley Blake fabric, which I really like because it's a lovely sort of pale charcoal with almost hand-drawn and hand-illustrated just white motifs. There's like a ball of string with a pair of scissors in it and words and lemonade. It's really lovely. I love the contrast pink spot that you can put either side. I mean, you can choose how you do it. I think the feature print works really well in the centre, but you can swap it around. And then the darker grey. So you could have it the other way. You could have the darker grey either side of this, and then you could have the bright pink ends. Just depends which way, because there is enough fabric to do it either way round. But that would look quite nice if you wanted to keep it quite plain in the separate. So did you watch the show at 9 o'clock? When we made the Maryon, when Rebecca made, not we, Rebecca made the Mummy and Me apron. Well, it sold out, but we have been lucky enough to get some more. We managed to phone Allison and get some more booked in. So if you do want it, here it is here. Remember, it's got all of the pattern you need for the adult and the children's apron and the instructions and all the applique templates to do the baking. But also there are brand new applique templates in it. Look, there's the picture there of the aprons made with it. There's the paint palette and the pencils, paint palette and pencils, and also the cooking dish with eggs. So that's the new thing that we haven't had before. We haven't had the templates to do all the pencils and the paint palette. But it was so popular at 9 o'clock this morning. We sold out really quickly, but luckily we've managed to get some more in. So tomorrow, gosh, so we've nearly finished with Sewing Street, but don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere because we've got Yarn Lane to come. But I can't get that back in. So we'll just leave that. So tomorrow we have got at 8 o'clock fabulous fabrics. We've got some really lovely fabrics for you to choose from to add to your stash. 9 o'clock we've got Emma Bradford in, quilt extraordinaire expert, doing wild and colourful cotton quilts. That will be really good because she knows everything about quilting. 10 o'clock sewing room stash, so lots and lots of different gadgets and tools to add to your sewing room. Hannah personally has built lots of beautiful bundles She's got primary colours, secondary colours, everything you need to add to your sewing room stash. I think you're really going to enjoy that hour if you love colour. 11 o'clock, we've got another quilt, Flying South for the Winter, with Emma Bradford. So I presume that's got birds on it, but it will be interesting to see that one. And then at 12 o'clock, we've got Dukey sewing machines. So that's a very full, fun-packed day tomorrow. But don't go anywhere because we've got Yarn Lane next. Now, if you're watching me on the TV, that's fine. Stay where you are. Yarn Lane will just come along at 12 o'clock. If you're watching on Facebook or you're watching on the website, you need to move to www.yarnlane.com because we have a completely separate website for watching online and also for shopping as well. So if you want to shop on Yarn Lane, you have to shop on the yarnlane.com website. And we have a separate phone number. However, the lucky thing is that if you've bought something on Sewing Street this morning, your postage and packaging is already covered. So you can buy anything across the whole 24 hours. Anything you buy on Sewing Street and Yarn Lane both qualify for the 1395 P&P. So although we have a separate channel and we have a separate fan page and a separate Facebook page, we're allowed to share the postage. So we have got coming up in just a few minutes, Crochet Animals, really looking forward to that, and a brand new guest. Vanessa, our brand new guest, is coming on as well. So don't go anywhere, get your crochet hooks out, but she's going to take this from the beginning, so if you've never crocheted before, you're going to love this show. All right, I will see you in just a few minutes.